Again?
Chris, you're there? Okay. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Daniel, please roll call for us, please. Daniel, are you there?
President say?
Daniel, roll call, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
President say?
Yes.
Vice President Yu?
President.
Clerk Nishi?
Here, present.
Board Member Dr. Apodaca?
Here.
Board Member Mr. Beach?
Present.
Board Member Dr. Eugenio?
Here.
Board Member Dr. Rios?
Here. Present.
Thank you.
Public comment statement. We welcome public comments. Comments submitted will be presented during the public comments sections, which is limited to 1 hour, and each speaker to one presentation of 5 minutes, unless our board wishes to waive the time limit. Those who have a group concern are encouraged to select a spokesperson to address the board. Comments submitted regarding a specific agenda item will be presented following the staff comments and prior to the board discussion and taking action. Now, I would like to call Dr. Apodaca. Can you lead us to do tonight's Pledge of Allegiance?
It would be my honor and privilege, Madam President. Please stand. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
Thank you, Dr. Apodaca. Next one is the presentation spotlights on teaching and learning. Tonight's the special topic we're talking about Black excellence. And Dr. Sue, are you ready for us, please?
Yes, I am, President Say. You know, this month, February, is Black History Month, and we wanted to share the wonderful contributions by many leaders throughout our country. I will start with the first one. This is for us, it's known as also Black excellence. Martin Luther King Jr. was powered by faith, inspired by Gandhi, and motivated by hope for equal treatment for all. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered words to a generation such as his "I Have a Dream" speech that moved them to change the way they thought, which ultimately shifted the world. There is still work to be done to complete Dr. King's vision, but there is no doubt that the progress we've made was set in motion by Black leaders like himself.
Thank you, Dr. Sue. And it's my turn for Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks, also called the mother of the civil rights movement. Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat to a white male passenger on the public bus in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955. 4 days later, Black people in the city organized a boycott of the city bus that lasts for over a year. This collective protest employee Martin Luther King Jr. as a spokesperson initiated the beginning of the civil rights movement. So, Vice President, you have to unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
Yes. Okay. Next is Barack Obama. One of the most recent and significant Black leaders of our time is none other than the 44th US President, Barack Obama. He was only the 5th African American to ever be elected to the US Senate and the first Black person ever elected as Commander-in-Chief. The entire Obama clan, including Michelle, Malia, and Sasha, are this country's greatest representation of Black love and deserve to be celebrated.
Thank you.
I don't have that script before me.
Do
I'll text it to you, Ernie.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Why don't we go? Next
the
one
next.
will be,
I've looked at my emails too.
I'm
it's in
sending
there.
it to you right now as a picture.
Thank you, Dr. Apodaca.
I don't have any information either if it's expected for the rest of the board to read.
Okay, it's sent it to you.
I
Let
got
me,
you, Olga.
screenshot and send it to you.
Okay.
Okay.
This is Danielle. I will send it again. I apologize.
Can we go on with Dr. Apodaca?
Yeah, Dr. Apodaca, go ahead. And then following Apodaca will be, what's the name?
Ernie.
Ernie, yeah, okay.
Okay. I have Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman literally led Black people from slavery to freedom. There's no way you can find a better Black leader than that. After she helped save over 300 slaves via the Underground Railroad, Tubman went on to serve in the Civil War as a nurse, a cook, and a spy. Until the day she died, the metaphorical conductor served her community by opening schools for African Americans and speaking on behalf of women's rights, all without ever having learned to read.
Are you ready for Mr. Ernie, Ms. Nishi?
I haven't gotten a text yet.
Okay. So then we'll
I
go
sent
to
it to you.
Brett.
Thank
Brett,
you.
can you do it now? Brett, and following Brett
Actually,
will be,
I can do this one, I think. Thurgood Marshall. This is a perfect one for me.
okay, great.
One of the iconic justices that I can think of. As the first Black U.S. Supreme Court Justice, Thurgood Marshall was an extremely influential Black leader. He was a patriot, liberal, who defended constitutional rights in a positive light whenever he had the chance, with a monumental victories throughout his career, like Bourne versus Brown Board of Education of Topeka, the verdict that invalidated segregation in public schools. He was a major contributor to the end of Jim Crow era and paved the way for many other people to make the big changes that the law can provide in our society. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I have the honor of reading about Shirley Chisholm. If you don't know about the Chisholm train, you're missing out. Shirley Chisholm was the first Black African-American woman in Congress and also the first Black woman to seek presidential candidacy with a major party. Acting as a stepping stone for what would one day be our first African-American president, Chisholm is surely a great Black leader to learn about right now.
Go ahead, Dr. Eugenio. You go ahead then when.
Sure. I have Maya Angelou. It's an insult to call Maya Angelou simply a poet. She worked closely beside MLK, who was killed on her birthday, and Malcolm X during the Civil Rights Movement. She acted in theater and film while receiving dozens of honorary degrees. The title of Great Black American Leader was just one of many crowns worn by author of I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, the first best-selling nonfiction book by an African-American woman.
Thank you. Dr. Rios. You have to unmute yourself.
Just a minute. Okay. W.E.B. Du Bois. To say W.E.B. Du Bois took education seriously would be an understatement. The co-founder of the NAACP graduated high school, valedictorian of course, in 1884 and spent the next 11 years studying at various schools, eventually becoming the first Black person to ever receive a doctorate from Harvard University. He fought tirelessly for social justice until his death in Ghana at the age of 95.
Thank you, Dr. Rios. Next one will be our Lunar New Year, and this will be presented by Gonzalez Elementary School.
I'm sorry, we
Yeah,
have.
oh, we have more. That's right. Then we have a staff to do it.
Yes.
I apologize.
We
Go
have a
on, please.
cabinet
Go
member.
ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
Dr. Zitlo.
Dr. Zillow, please. Thank you.
George Washington Carver. He worked at the helm of the Tuskegee Institute's agricultural department, included groundbreaking research on plant biology, much of which focused on the development of new uses for crops, including peanuts, sweet potatoes, soybeans, and pecans. Carver's inventions include hundreds of products, including more than 300 from peanuts, There's milk, plastics, paints, dyes, cosmetics, medicinal oils, soap, ink, wood, stains, etc. 118 from sweet potatoes, including molasses, postage stamp glue, flour, vinegar, and synthetic rubber, and even a type of gasoline. Cotton production was on the decline in the South, and overproduction of a single crop had left many fields exhausted and barren. Carver was the one who suggested planting peanuts and soybeans, both of which could restore the nitrogen to the soil, along with sweet potatoes. Carver's inventions and research solved many of the problems we faced.
I have the honor of introducing you to Maria Van Britton Brown. She was an inventor who patented the modern home security system. Over 50 years later, Brown's technology is installed in millions of homes and offices worldwide. Brown was a 43-year-old African-American nurse who worked long, late hours before returning home. Her husband, Albert Brown, an electronics technician, was away many nights. In 1966, Brown designed a closed-circuit security system that monitored visitors via camera and projected their images onto a television monitor. Not only that, a panic button contacted the police immediately. Brown envisioned a series of peepholes at various heights. A camera would slide over these peepholes to assess the outside area. A radio-controlled wireless system would transfer the image to a monitor or a set of monitors positioned anywhere in the residence. At the monitor, a resident could not only see who was at the door, she could also talk with that person via a set of two-way microphones. A remote control option allowed her to lock or unlock the door from a safe or more convenient distance. Brown's inventions is a predecessor to home security systems used today.
Juan?
Thank you. Victor Glover. Victor Jerome Glover is a NASA astronaut of the class of 2013 and pilot on the first operational flight of the SpaceX Crew Dragon to the International Space Stations. Glover is a commander in the U.S. Navy, where he pilots an FA-18 and is a graduate of the U.S. Air Force Test Pilot School. He is a crew member of Expedition 64, serving as a station system flight engineer.
Thank you, Tuan.
Victor Glover.
Thank you, and thank you to you all. I do want to mention about Ms. Brown, Mrs. Brown. Actually, when I was at graduate school, I really did the study on her. Such a wonderful woman, you know, that I'm looking her as my hero. So anyway, thank you. So I'd like to give to next one where we talk about Lunar New Year. Actually, today is the 5th day of the New Year. Chinese will go all the way up to the 15 days to celebrate Chinese New Year. So this one will be presented by Gonzalez Elementary School. Dr. Su, please.
Thank you, President Say. Tonight we have a brief video from Gonzalez staff members as well as their students, as well as describing what is Lunar New Year for many families today. So let's have Joy Machado present the Lunar New Year video.
Hello, Gonzalez Grizzlies, and welcome to our 2021 Lunar New Year celebration. And for those of you who didn't know, it is the year of the ox. So we have a lot of great things planned for you today. So let's get started with our 2021 Lunar New Year celebration.
The Lunar New Year has typically been called the Chinese New Year. That's not wrong and it's not right. There's a whole nother group of Asian countries that also celebrate based on the lunar calendar. They're not meant to be a lot of money. If you do present a red envelope, make sure you do it with 2 hands and that you use new bills. Red is supposed to be prosperity, health. So if you ever went to a Chinese New Year dinner and you were wearing white or black, you should just go home and change. A lot of the celebratory components center around food, a lot of food. Understanding a little bit more of the sources of the rich culture that we have as a country, that's what really makes this country so incredible. It's a tradition that we get to celebrate here, even though most people who celebrate are halfway around the world. And to share it and share it boldly, I think is very, very special.
Hello, students and families. Happy New Year of the Ox. And in Tagalog from the Philippines, Maligayang bagong taon sa inyong lahat. Happy New Year to all of you.
Kun Yin Yan Wei. Happy New Year.
Happy Lunar New Year, Gonzalez Grizzlies. It's Mrs. G, and I wanted to wish you a wonderful Spring Festival and a prosperous New Year ahead in 2021. Happy New Year.
Happy Lunar New Year, boys and girls. I want to wish you a prosperous Year of the Ox.
Hello, Gonzalez students. This is Mrs. Ortiz, 5th grade teacher, and I wanted to wish you and your families good health, good luck, good fortune in this Lunar New Year 2021, the Year of the Ox. Happy New Year.
Tell me we're okay. Tell me we're alright. Tell me we'll make it. Oh, make it out alive. Tell me we're okay. Tell me we're alright. Tell me we'll make it. Oh, make it out alive. We will be okay. We will be alright. And we will make it out alive. We will be okay.
How to say Happy New Year in Korean. 새해 복 많이 받으세요.
Tteokguk is rice cake soup made with disc-shaped rice cakes in a clear broth. We Koreans eat it every Seollal, the first day of the lunar calendar. Our age goes up by 1 every Seollal, but the process isn't complete until we eat a bowl of tteokguk. Today I'll be showing you how to make tteokguk so you can eat it on Seollal your own. Now let's start making the tteokguk. First, start boiling the base. Step 2. Once it starts boiling, you need to put in the slices of rice cake. Step 3. After about 30 seconds, you need to put in the dumpling inside the broth. If you want, you can put in some salt and some pepper. After you put in the salt and pepper, you have to stir for about 30 seconds. And if you want, you can put in some extra condiments like egg or green onion. There you have it, tteokguk.
Hello, my name is Aiden Lee, and I am Aaron Lee. Today we'll be telling you about a game called Yunori. Yunori was played by Koreans. First, you throw the sticks in the air. Then, where the sticks lay, you move your checker point on the map. Let's play.
Have a happy year of the ox. Hi, my name is Elizabeth Glenn and I am in 3rd grade and I wish you guys a happy Lunar New Year and the year of the ox and good health. Have a lucky Lunar New Year. 恭喜发财.
Hello, it's Rachel and have a happy and healthy Lunar New Year.
Hey, Gonzalez Grizzlies, I hope you enjoyed our 2021 virtual Lunar New Year celebration. I want everybody to enjoy your year of the ox. And I'd just like to close things out by saying, Shin Yen Kwai Le, Sehe Pokmani Padu Seyo, and Chakman Nam Moi. Happy New Year, everyone.
Thank you.
I do want to say that Gonzalez, the students and their staff and Principal Robert Benko did a wonderful job with this video tonight.
I want to thank you. Thank you to the staff and thank you to the parents too, and put up that nice, beautiful show. It did kind of brought my memory back our New Year and the last Friday and Saturday I broke because kids come home, we give red envelope, kids not that small anymore. So it was, but we're really enjoying it. And we have lots and lots of food. There's a lot of, the year ox, the people who were born that year the ox, usually this is the people are more reliable, they're strong, they're fair, and they're very patient and kind and calm and trustworthy. But however, they also have less social and lacking in communication skill. It's true or not true, it's just based what I see from Google about year the ox people. So anyway, let me see. I saw Matthew change it close to red color. Thank you, Matthew. Thanks. Thank you.
No problem.
We're going to get you through soon, Matthew, I promise you. So our next one's approved agenda. May I have a motion to approve the agenda for regular meeting of February 16, 2021?
I'll move to approve, Brad.
Second, Abbadaka.
Thank you. And I was just wondering if any nay here, if no, any nay in here? If no nay, then I'm going to just assume everybody, the motion passes unanimous is 7-0. Would that be okay? We're trying to moving faster for our today's agenda because we have two students out there, and I don't want them to stay too long. Hope my board member understand that. Okay? So if you think opposed that, please just kind of raise your hand. Let me know so I'll count you out from that. Okay. And next one is approved minutes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of regular meeting of February 2nd, 2021 with the minor revisions?
So move.
Sue?
Eugenio, second.
Thank you. Any nay? If none, motion passes 7-0. The next one is the student board representative, and we have with handsome young gentleman here from Tracy High School, Matthew LaArca. Go ahead, Matthew, the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you so much. Good evening, board members. I'm sorry. Let me start over again. I just want to quickly say before I begin, I genuinely enjoyed the quick video we saw. I enjoyed everything I learned and took in a lot. Thank you for that. I really do appreciate that. Good evening, Board President Say, Vice President Yu, Clerk Nishii, distinguished members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Mary Sue, and cabinet members. My name is Matthew LaArca, and my co-student board representative is Yvette Rodriguez. Well, unfortunately, Yvette had a family emergency this evening and is not able to be with us, but I will do the best I can to give the board a full report on what is happening at Tracy High School as we continue our virtual learning program during the COVID-19 pandemic. Like all students in ABC, Tracy students continue to attend classes from home in the district's virtual learning program. Students must be enrolled in a minimum of 3 daily 65-minute classes on a block schedule. However, some students are allowed to take up 2 additional classes if they have shown the ability to handle a full load of classes and they need the additional credits. The classes meet twice weekly, periods 1, 3, 5, and 7 on Monday and Thursday, and periods 2, 4, 6, and 8 on Tuesday and Friday. Wednesday is the asynchronous day where students attend their homeroom for attendance and also watch the KTHS morning news and any special announcements. The rest of the asynchronous day is used by students to attend tutoring classes if scheduled and or work independently on their class assignments. Tracy is celebrating Black History Month during the month of February. The KTHS morning news will highlight the Black historical figures in all walks of life that have had great impact in our history of our country. Mr. Catlett and Mr. O'Neill have developed specific assignments and projects in their world and US history classes, providing students the opportunity to study and learn about the many Black historical figures that were influential and inspiring in our country's history. Mr. Catlett, who also teaches art, assigns special projects in his art classes, highlighting famous national and international Black artists. Mental health professional Linda Gomez has partnered with Cal State Long Beach to invite Tracy students to join virtual events to mark the multitude of achievements by African Americans and the central role of Black people in the history of the United States. 4 Tracy African American students are currently attending the 4-week CCEJ Virtual Black Excellence Leadership Training that allow 50 students from the ABC school district to collaborate and cultivate leadership skills. Tracy has 3 academic intervention coordinators this year to assist our seniors and help them get back on track to graduate on time. They are Ms. Ritchie, who taught CTE classes last year, Mr. White, a retired counselor and administrator who has worked in multiple school districts, and Mr. Fagundes, a former para-educator here at Tracy, who was also the academic intervention coordinator last year. There are many tasks, include Zoom or Google Meet counseling sessions with students and parents weekly, academic and attendance checks, classroom visitations, home visits when necessary, and networking with teachers to consistently monitor student academic progress. Tracy ASB is back. Mr. David, Tracy's CTE video broadcast teacher, will coordinate ASB for the 2nd semester and will schedule various ASB activities, such as celebrating Black History Month, School Spirit Week, crazy dress-up days, and monthly assemblies with special guest speakers and performers. Just a few weeks ago, our first ASB virtual assembly ever featured special guest speaker and musical rapper Marlon D. College and career are alive and well in many forms at Tracy. Information and application workshops are provided periodically to our students by Cerritos College, Long Beach City College, and Cypress College representatives. FAFSA workshops are going by Mary, FAFSA workshops by Going Mary tracks students' FAFSA progress and provides much needed support to students. Tracy will hold its annual College and Career Day on Thursday, April 20th. The plan for this year's virtual Career Day will include various business associates and entrepreneurs in the local community, representatives from different branches of military service, and counselors and recruiters from local community colleges. Tracy's 2021 open house will be held virtually on Thursday, March 18th at 6 p.m., and we invite everyone to stop by and view the various administrator and teacher presentations highlighting different classes offered at Tracy. Links to our virtual open house will be posted the week of the event. Mr. Oda's Futures class is booming at THS. The Future class provides dually enrolled students at Tracy hands-on support and direction to students from Tracy's dual enrollment coordinator, Mr. Oda, and his assistant Tracy English teacher, Ms. Mendoza. The class currently has 46 students enrolled, and 32 of those students are also enrolled in a college course at the same time, 17 at Cerritos College and 15 at Long Beach City College. The Futures Dual Enrollment Program is a shining star at Tracy and steadily growing. The program has inspired and motivated many students to pursue the path of attending college courses while enrolled at Tracy. But Mr. Oda has also reached out to students at Bridges Academy and ABC Secondary School who are interested in being dually enrolled. An example of the potential of this program is illustrated by graduate from last year's class of 2020, Miss Stephanie Aguilar, who graduated from Tracy in June and had 16 college credits already completed. Word of dual enrollment at Tracy is spreading quickly, and also people are learning that Tracy is not just about credit recovery, but also a school that provides students an opportunity to thrive in areas that perhaps they didn't have at their home schools. Tracy's COVID-19 team has developed a plan to accommodate Tracy students when the green light is given for students and staff to return to campus to attend classes. Many health and safety protocols will be in place to protect both students and staff, such as wearing masks, maintaining appropriate social distancing, washing hands frequently, testing and cleaning and sanitizing all facilities. Student and staff safety will always be the #1 priority at Tracy. And we all look forward to the day we can once again be on campus with our fellow students and Tracy staff. That's our report for this evening. While we're all anxiously awaiting the call to return to campus, Tracy students know that it's important to stay disciplined during virtual learning and do the best we can to keep moving forward with our education. Thank you again for allowing us all to share what's happening at Tracy School. Happy Lunar New Year to everyone. Kong Hai Fa Choi. As always, go Saints.
Oh, thank you, Ms. Nalaka. You know what? You should be a news reporter for your future job. You're excellent today. I mean, what a wonderful report. I look at you, I thought, wow, am I the CBC or am I the NBC now? Thank you. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. And do we have any question, anything to say, a board member here?
I just want to say, I echo with President Sophia say, Matthew, you did a fantastic job. I mean, your voice, your manner, I mean, you're very talented, and I could tell that you're very appreciative, and you are very proud of your school. Keep it up. Yeah. Best wishes for your future.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
And then thank you. Change it to the red clothes, red shirts on for us. I really appreciate it. And you have a happy whole semester and safe semester. And we do miss Tracy High School. Hopefully when it's open, I would like to go, Tracy, go back to visit you. I would definitely look for Matthew Loaka. Thank you. Thank you for the report. The next one is our, thank you. Next one is our superintendent's report. Dr. Su.
Thank you so much, Matthew, for a great report from Tracy High School. I really enjoyed it this week. I think you did an outstanding job doing the report tonight.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And gong hei fat choi to you too.
Thank you so much.
On Wednesday, February the 10th, I attended the National School Boards Association on Equity Online Symposium. Numerous keynote speakers were available to share their story, especially Brandon Fleming, who serves at Harvard University. He did a dynamic presentation of where he came from in Los Angeles, as well as to seek people out to understand that despite one's background, it's possible to accomplish greatness in one's work. There were other speakers in attendance, including Dr. Samuel King, Dr. Natalie Hall, the former board member, Dr. Tamara Young, and Dr. Mark Bonini, a superintendent in Connecticut. The students from Eastside Community School in New York performed presentations in poetry and script. It was an amazing day with presenters from all levels of life. This Thursday night, I will participate in the Cerritos Optimist Club Zoom meeting to honor the 3 winners for the 2021 Optimist Essay Contest from Cerritos High School. They will be honoring Jacqueline Porciuncula, Owen Tai, and Shiana Candila. On Saturday, March the 6th from 2 to 4 o'clock, the Cerritos Optimist Club will be conducting their oratorical contest, and I will be participating at that event as well. Several of the board members have asked about vaccinations for our staff members. I'm grateful to Dr. Maria Martinez Poulin, superintendent of the Whittier City School District, for adopting us into their collaboration. Staff members who are 65 years or older may be given the Pfizer vaccine at the PIH Health Whittier Hospital located at 1240 Washington Boulevard in Whittier. It will be available for free for them on Friday, February the 19th from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. They must be available to take the second dosage on March the 12th at the same time at the hospital. Employees must also contact Kester Song by tomorrow. He will be available at the PIH Health Whittier Hospital to make sure that they have their credentials with them. Ultimately, the Whittier City School District is looking for collaboration to implement the vaccines in our own districts. The Los Angeles County Department of Public Health reports that the county's COVID-19 adjusted rate is now at or below 25 per 100,000 residents, meeting its requirement to reopen our schools safely. The ABC Unified School District has developed protocols and processes to comply with public health officials' guidance with the county and state to reopen our schools safely. Although the county indicated that our schools may now reopen, the district is still moving through the process required to do so. We have completed the application to move forward with the reopening grades TK through 6 in Governor Newsom's Safe Schools for All plan. We are still working with our schools and our staff to reopen per the guidelines laid out by both Governor Newsom and the Los Angeles County. We plan to bring students back into their classrooms using a modified hybrid schedule for families who choose to do so. The ABC Virtual Academy will still be available for families who wish to continue with their online learning for the rest of the year. We do not have a firm date yet for reopening our schools. However, we are now closer than we have been in this past year to have our elementary students return to our elementary school campuses. We will share more information about the timelines and schedules in the upcoming weeks. That concludes my report, President Tsai.
Thank you, Dr. Su. Our next one's employee representatives report, and we have our ABCFT, the president, Mr. Gear.
Thank you, President Tsai. Good evening, President Tsai, board trustees, Superintendent Dr. Su, administrative cabinet, principals, teachers, nurses, ABC classified, students, parents, and ABC community members. Hope I didn't miss anybody. Happy Lunar New Year to everybody. An ox, it's hardworking and honest, and I can say that we're going to need that hardworking part. We've already been doing it, but we're going to need it in the coming months. I'd just like to give a public recognition to Dr. Sue. There is no gracious way to move ABC through this process, and you're doing the best that you can, and we appreciate your calmness and your guidance during this time. And I'm going off my script, but I truly I appreciate what you do, and the teachers and nurses in ABC really appreciate what you do, thinking about just the community overall, students, and your employees. So thank you for that. My name is Ray Garrett. I'm president of the ABC Federation of Teachers. Today, the ABC School District employees and ABC community were made aware of the change at the county level, which you heard from Dr. Sue today. And so that opens the gate to in-person instruction in LA County. This is the moment we've all anticipated, and it's a complicated matter, but the in-person is at the forefront of everybody's mind, and it's important for all stakeholders. Over the next 2 weeks, the final agreements and timelines for opening our schools will be negotiated, discussed, and implemented in preparation for the change for our elementary students and the impacted student populations. Today, I was able to speak with over 300 teachers to discuss their feelings about the ventilation, hand washing stations, PPE, plexiglass, and vaccinations. They're ready to get back to work also. There are teachers on both sides of the issues for opening for in-person instruction, just as there are varied opinions in the public arena like Facebook or any other social media outlets. But it really comes down to safety. The opening of schools is a complicated process. It's like an army, right? We think of those old World War II movies. There's logistics and there's costs, and it involves people, most importantly. But it's also a wonderful opportunity for us to put to rest that feeling that we would never again hear our classrooms filled with the sounds of our students, or never see our students playing outdoors in our brand new facilities for them, which will happen in the future. So it gives us all hope. The opening of our schools is also not descriptive of the massive changes and impact that this will have on all affected families of our students, teachers, and principals. This will be life-changing, and in some cases, it will be the beginning of risks that some families have not endured thus far in the pandemic. It is not a change without dangers and hidden costs. The safety of all ABC stakeholders is paramount, though. I need to, furthermore, these risks are not equal among our communities. And I think this is a really important point. And it came up within the 300 teachers, especially for the teachers that are involved in these schools. There's data to illustrate that there are cities among our district that have far more reported and unreported cases. There are concerns for safety across the district, but there are schools who are faced with more challenges and dangers for those families and teachers who work in those schools. I asked that as a board that you consider that not all parts of the school district are treated equally, because they're not equally affected. And they have never been equally affected by economics, opportunities, or pandemics. Please take these factors into consideration when you make your decisions over the next few weeks. The position of the ABC Federation of Teachers is clear. We want our affected teachers to be vaccinated. We can make a huge impact on the safety of our students and teachers if we make this one critical piece a reality. I applaud the district for making the availability of vaccinations for those employees 65 or over, and we hope there are opportunities soon for all employees. So the union office doesn't have to think about making fake IDs for 65 and older. So you know, we want vaccinations for everybody who's going to be affected. Teachers want to come back, but they also want to be vaccinated. They want to protect your families and their own families. I implore you to look for avenues to make the vaccination for those impacted employees a reality. Let's make vaccinations a non-issue so that we can all get back to the job of teaching our students with one less worry. My hope is that you will take my points and the individual needs of communities and the vaccines for employees into consideration as we move forward. Thank you for Happy New Year.
Thank you, President Gill, and please relay the message to the staff, our staff and your staff. We do concern our staffs and the families' health safety issue, we do. And then we also concern our students' safety issue, the health issues that we are. We're not taking the granted salt. We appreciate they're willing to work with us. And we know actually a lot of teachers want to come back. They feel the student had lost a lot of education and they want to come back. But in a way, you're right. The vaccine, we try to. I wrote a letter sent to Janice Hong, and we also calling the Johnson. The board member had to attempt to call everywhere to hopefully we can have the vaccine site in our district. I even went to Cerritos High School, so we do concern our staff's health and safety issue. We care about that because without them, there's no education in here. Okay, everyone have played the major pieces here. So I want to say thank you so much, and please let them know the board really appreciate. Okay.
Oh, we appreciate your efforts. Thank you.
We try. We really try. Okay. So anything else, my board colleague? If none, I will go to the public comment. Can I ask our clerk, Mr. Nishii, do we have any public comments? And then.
Yes, let me read the preamble that we have here. Persons wishing to address the board should provide public comments during the public comments section via the following method: myabcusd.org/board meeting, and use the link or phone number to participate in the Zoom meeting. If using Zoom, please use the raise your hand feature during the public comments portion of the agenda or during the public comments time after an agenda item. If using the phone, please hit 9 to raise your hand during the public comments portion of the agenda or during public comments time after the agenda item has initially been read, and before the vote, use 6 to unmute yourself when you're called upon to speak. Comments will be presented during the public comment section, which are limited to 1 hour, and each speaker to one presentation of 5 minutes, unless the board wishes to waive time limit. There are those who have group concerns who are strongly encouraged to select a spokesperson to address the board. Comments submitted regarding a specific agenda item will be presented following the staff comment and prior to the board's discussion and taking action or a vote. Adverse remarks about a person's race, ancestry, ethnic group, identification, religion, color, national origin, sex, sexual orientation, gender, gender presentation, mental or physical handicap, or age should not be made. Concerns presented to the board will be followed up and addressed by the appropriate staff following the meeting. But we will not be addressing that specific comment during the meeting because it's not an agendized item. Thank you very much. Mr. Scott, do we have any?
Can I interject one thing, clerk, Mr. Nishii? Do you know how many speakers coming today? Because we need to know, and then because I know our board member receiving a lot of letter from the parents. So do you know how many people will be out there waiting for?
So let me ask Mr. Scott. Mr. Scott, how many comments do we have?
Right now we have 5 hands raised.
Okay.
Mr. Clerk.
Okay, so go ahead.
All right, the first public speaker this evening is Sylvester Ani. Sylvester, please unmute yourself. Go right ahead.
Good evening, board. I wanted to take some time during Black History Month to also raise the issues that are going on in our brothers and sisters within the Asian American and Pacific Islander group. I've come on these meetings before, and I've talked about issues and solutions around curriculum that we can implement into our schools to be proactive and preventative of the issues that are bound to arise if we fail to address and talk about these issues. I want to share some statistics with you. Over 80% of Asian youth have experienced bullying. This is since COVID, right? So this is from March until now, right? Over 80% of Asian youth have been experienced more bullying. There's been over 2,000 anti-American violent acts against Asian Americans related to COVID, right? And recently we've been seeing more attacks on our Asian elders. These issues are things that we need to talk about before we come back into school. There needs to be more education about the history of Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders within our school system, right? Something like I don't, really remember touching on a lot when I was in school. Things like, Japanese internment camps. Not that it wasn't ever discussed, but in depth. Japanese internment camps, or the Chinese Exclusion Act, things like that and that have shaped when we transitioned into an era where to ease relations between America and China, things started getting better for Asian Americans within America. We started a myth of the model minority. And that's something that individuals within those communities have had to bear. And because of that, a lot of the issues that they go through aren't seen. Things like emasculating the men or stereotypes about, submissive women and, et cetera, et cetera. And we've almost made invisible of the real issues that these communities face. It's something that we need to talk about. It's something that we need to discuss. It's something that we need to learn and educate the kids about. So we're not continuing to keep this cycle going. And all this ties in to all the conversations that we're talking about with diversity and equity. When we're talking about things to improve or better the Black community, those rights that Black activists have been fighting. We talked about Rosa Parks. We talked about Martin Luther King. I feel like we should have talked about a couple more individuals. Could have talked about Malcolm X. We could have talked about Fred Hampton. We could have talked about Medgar Evers. We could have talked about James Baldwin. All the issues that these individuals have fought for are not only to improve the lives of Black lives, but it's also have gotten rights for so many other communities. And that's part of why it's important to discuss and learn about these issues, because everybody's life improves. Everybody gets better, when we do these things. So I'm also going to invite every member of the board.
Sylvester, you have a minute left.
Thank you. I'm going to invite every member on the board. Every Friday night, we've been doing Black History Month screenings and discussions. Last Friday which is our first Friday doing it. We had over 25 people on the call. We talked, we cried. We had people, students from the Black Student Union at Cerritos High School come, and we learned together and we grew. And we're having another screening Friday at 7:30. And I'll leave my information so you all can follow up with it. I'll post it on Facebook, The Love We Don't See on Instagram, and then Sylvester Annie on Facebook. I'll post his information because I want to invite everybody into this room. And I hope it's something that maybe we can keep on doing and having these discussions so we can keep on growing with each other. So I just wanted to lift up our brothers and sisters within the Asian American and Pacific Islander communities, because their issues are real and their lives matter as well. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. The next speaker is Kylie Joe. If you could please state your full name, and you have 5 minutes.
My name is Kylie Joe, and I'm a senior at Cerritos High School. This is a letter from the perspective of a student from the class of 2021, written by myself. This is the year of our graduation, and it's not happening. But we understand. We understand not having a prom or grad night or any of those senior privileges. The health and safety of our community is more important than a dance. But we are exhausted by the repetitive nature of our online education. Not all of us go to school to just sit in class. Most go to school to play sports, act in plays, debate at MUN conferences, and to be around our friends. Take all of that away and what's left? A lot of unhappy teenagers who are being constantly ignored by the people making us unhappy. I understand this is your job. I'm not asking you to cure COVID-19 or let us watch Netflix for the entire class period. This is how you support your family. But students can't keep pretending like everything is fine. A friend of mine recently made a comment in passing that really stood out to me. She said, if every senior writes about how incredibly depressed they were throughout high school or how much they wanted to kill themselves on their college applications, you would think the teachers and counselors who read their essays would reevaluate how we're being taught and treated during our time here. Even before this pandemic, it was clear there was an issue, yet nothing was ever done about it. So now, as we are assigned excessive amounts of work to compensate for the minimal instruction time we receive, what makes you think our mental health has improved? If only 30% of teens seek psychological guidance in a normal setting, what makes you think that number has increased in an online setting? Counselors don't respond to our emails, teachers give vague instructions yet penalize students for not completing assignments properly. Administration is notified of reoccurring issues but doesn't take any action. We are told we are being heard, yet only one thing is made explicitly clear. We don't matter enough for real action to be taken. We have been shown time and time again, no matter the uproar, no matter the student support, what we do or say is never enough to ignite change. We saw it with the tepid support of the BLM movement and the lack of consequences for individuals who continue to use racially charged language. We saw it with the disregard for the numerous reports of sexual assault against students and the mediocre response to brave individuals sharing their stories of survival. What I'm trying to say is we're used to being disappointed. The response to this situation isn't any different than the ones that have come before it. And the seniors aren't the only ones that are struggling. Freshmen are being deprived of a crucial transitional year. Sophomores are unable to experience the larger workload that properly equips them for their time as an upperclassman. Juniors are scrambling to compile the extracurriculars needed to stand out during the college application process. Each and every student is facing their own challenges. As for the teachers and administrators who have gone the extra mile during this time, we thank you for checking in, encouraging us to keep going, and for realizing there are days we just can't give it our all. Unfortunately, your actions are far outweighed by the actions of your colleagues. To the teachers who assign 50+ pages of work on a weekly basis to then grade the assignment in seconds, or who kick us out of class as soon as our cameras turn off or our faces slip out of frame, what exactly are you accomplishing? Have you stopped to consider not every student is afforded the privilege of a private space where they can attend a virtual class without interruption, or the countless other responsibilities students might have that outweighs the endless worksheets you've assigned? Maybe you have. Maybe you feel remorse. Maybe there is truly nothing else you can do. But for some, I doubt this is the case. Yes, we are all experiencing this pandemic, but not a single one of us is experiencing it in the same way. Do not generalize our experiences because we're all the same age. Do not disregard our troubles because we are only teenagers. All we want is to communicate our struggles and truly be heard. But will we be persecuted and reprimanded for speaking up for ourselves and our peers? Can it be demonstrated that we truly matter? If not, what do you really expect from us? If not, I guess you fulfilled exactly what we expected from you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. The next speaker is a phone number ending in 049. If you could please state your name and take yourself off mute. Take yourself off mute and then state your name. You have 5 minutes.
Press 6.
*6. There you go. Please state your name.
Okay, there I am. Hi, my name is Heather Barron. Good evening, board, parents, students, the staff, and teachers that are listening tonight. I'm going to read a statement that I wrote. I'm sorry if I get emotional. As a parent of a senior student athlete at Cerritos High School, I can no longer stick my head in the sand. The class of 2021 is running out of time. There's been no action taken to get these kids back to sports, student activities, or in-person learning. They have had no homecoming, no winter formal. There will be no prom or grad night. And we've been presented with, pardon my phrasing, a polished turd disguised as a drive-through graduation. The senior class of 2021 and all other students of ABCUSD have been robbed of the last year of school and the experiences that they will Sorry. They will not get back. They are depressed, anxious, and are on the verge of giving up. What hope can they have for the future when this past year has been filled with disappointment and letdown? The CDC has reported that the proportion of pediatric emergency visits due to the mental health issues in 2020 increased by 24% among children ages 5 to 11 and by 31% ages 12 to 17. There is significant data in the US indicating COVID prevalence is no higher among high school students and teachers who return to campus compared with community matched prevalence rates. As of January 27th, 2021, in the entire state of California, there have only been 9 COVID-related deaths among persons younger than 18. For comparison, there was 15 deaths due to influenza in the same age group during the 2018-19 flu season. 77,470 youth reported frequent suicidal ideation from January to September 2020. The CDC has reported that 1 in 4 young adults have considered suicide due to the pandemic. COVID is most likely not going anywhere soon. It's time to stop living in fear and give these students back some type of normalcy. One way we could do that is bring back sports and student activities. It is time for fall and winter sports such as football, basketball, and volleyball to return to play. Prohibiting healthy activities such as sports participation has caused harm to our children. A survey that was conducted of 1,900 parents and coaches resulted in the following information. 1,612 student athletes are academically ineligible. 370 student athletes dropped out of school. 47 athletes are expecting children. 37 have been incarcerated. These numbers are disgusting and unacceptable. Not only have mental health problems increased, but there are troubling increases in failing grades, and children are becoming more screen addicted. There is plenty of data that supports sports returning to play, and I have found very little data or no data supporting why these student athletes should continue to be benched for this year. 40 plus states have successfully and safely completed or finished their fall winter sports season. The time for action is now. It is time to get these students back to sports, back to their extracurricular activities, and back to campus. If there are any students or parents who feel the same way, I encourage you to check out Let Them Play California movement on Facebook and on Twitter, and let's get these kids back to school. Thank you and good night.
Thank you. The next public speaker is Shayla Muse. Shayla, you have 5 minutes.
Am I on?
You are.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Sophia. I'm not Shayla, that is my granddaughter. This is Marianne, your neighbor, the RN, who lives down the street from you guys. I want to cry. Kylie, if you're still listening, that letter that you wrote echoes my sentiments exactly. I have 12 grandchildren, none of them are in school. I'm not going to give you a bunch of numbers or a bunch of statistics. You're all aware that the death rate of COVID-19 is very slim and very small. Multiple states have opened their schools with little or no repercussions. What is happening to our children is a crime. And I want you to know this, and I feel it from the depth of my soul, the sadness that is taking place. The kids belong in school. They're being robbed of an education. They're becoming obese. They're becoming depressed. They've lost their lives. And you have to understand something. The cure cannot be worse than the disease. And the cure of isolation and no education is worse than what we're seeing here as far as numbers from COVID-19. Although I know that this is not up to you guys, it is up to the governor of our state, who is in the process of being recalled, and hopefully that will be soon. I know that you need the green light from him, but I know that you guys have a large voice in the community and a large voice up in Washington or Sacramento or wherever the governor sits. You need to make it known that the parents want their children back in school. Now that I've said that, and my sentiments to the other parents that have spoken has touched my heart in ways that I'm going to go cry later, I have a question for you. My question is, are they requiring the COVID-19 vaccine for our children before they return to school? Any one of you can answer that question, please.
Dr. Su, actually, Dr. Su, you want to come in first and I'll go after you?
Madam President, we're
According to
not
school.
permitted to talk about this. It's not an agendized item.
Oh, I'm
Sheila,
not allowed to ask that question?
Sheila,
You
you're
can
allowed
ask
to
the
ask the
question.
question, but we're not allowed to didactic during our open public comments, Sheila. Just wanna
No
let you know.
problem. This is Marianne Sophia.
I know you, Marianne.
I know you
See you.
too. I voted for you. I
I
will
know.
ask that. I will
Thank you
ask
for
that
coming.
question. Yeah, you're
Thank
welcome.
you for
sweetie.
coming today, and we are now. I sincerely want to let you know to hopefully understand our situation here. And we also send a letter to all the parents and the family. Please read that letter. We send it to you. What is our plan for the future? Okay. Assume you should receive the mail by, I think, yesterday, right, Dr. Su? Was the mail sent out?
It was sent today.
Send it today. So Sheila, pay attention, read the letter that we send it to you. Okay.
I will definitely read that letter and I look forward to the kids returning to school ASAP. Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Board member, Clerk Nishi, go ahead.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
is there anything left?
We have 3 more right now with hands raised. The next one is a phone number ending in 555. Please press *6 to unmute. You have 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, great. Good evening, board members. My name is Ed Young. I grew up in this school district. I'm proud of that. I now have children in the district. Also, I previously served on the ad hoc facilities committee. So for those of you who know me, you know that I do care a lot about this district. So today I'm speaking in response to the information that was recently circulated regarding the Whitney admissions process, which involves a mandatory in-person test, I believe. So here's the bottom line. The bottom line is that I do know that some families are uncomfortable with this in-person test due to COVID concerns. And I know that from talking to families that I know in the district. So in fact, some families may forego this opportunity to apply for Whitney now in favor of reducing COVID risk for their children. Now, throughout this pandemic, I think it is apparent that each family has its own tolerance for COVID risk. And some families are more risk averse, some are less risk averse, and that's fine. So, but I think as a public entity, our school district should respect all viewpoints and not favor one over another, right? So I think a mandatory in-person test discounts the viewpoint of those families who are not yet comfortable with in-person instruction and other school activities, including this a test such as an in-person admissions test. So I'm hopeful that our district will respect the viewpoints of all families. And I do have a request. I urge the board to instruct staff to look into this issue further and perhaps conduct a survey to see actually how many families do share this concern. Now, I do understand the need to have some objective criteria for the Whitney's admissions process. And, you know, to the extent that standardized testing must be used as some type of a evaluation factor, it could be, it should be noted that our 6th grade cohort has had many years of standardized testing before the pandemic. It's possible that scores from past tests could be considered, in addition to, of course, input from our teachers, which I always think is very important. So, of course, that's just, a couple of ideas. I'm sure there are other ideas that can be explored as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The next speaker with their hand raised is Dana. Dana, unmute, you have 5 minutes.
Okay, so before I start tonight, I just want to give my support to Kylie and Sylvester on the topics that they spoke about. On September 22nd, Dr. Wise said that the district was working on sexual harassment infomercials on student protection. I would like to know if those infomercials are currently being broadcasted or if they are even in production yet. How do you plan to present these infomercials, and also what age groups are or will be receiving these infomercials? Lots of questions from your community and not enough transparency from the board. Last meeting, I also asked why a community update was sent out about George Floyd's death, but not about numerous students speaking up about sexual harassment that they have endured in your school district. I was told that I would be given an answer and still have not received any answers. Transparency is important to build trust between two groups, and right now we are not receiving that from the board. Please get back to me about my questions, but also get back to your other community members about their concerns. And to be fair, I don't feel comfortable going back to school because I don't know that the staff at my school will protect me from the bullying that I fear will happen. If we go back now, students will very soon get COVID and school will have to be shut down again. Please stop trying to rush the actual safety of students. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is a phone number ending in 441. Please unmute by hitting *6 and state your name. Go ahead. It looks like you're unmuted. If you could state your name.
Oh, sorry about that. Hello, everyone. My name is Cerise Rotondo, and I am an alumni and community organizer. First, I wanted to express my support for the student voices on Zoom etiquette and workload during the pandemic. I'm sure this is not the only experience of one student, but amongst numerous. I hope the district will take steps to ease this concern and use its position to inform teachers on what is and what is not acceptable. Now, this isn't said to allude to the opinion that we should open up right away, correct the actions of our educators. We're currently at 5,000 new cases a day, almost the same as 4 months ago. Additionally, only 1/10 of LA County is vaccinated. We are so close to beating this virus, and opening back up can be another possible setback for us. In addition, some students do not even feel safe to come back, considering the recent issues that have been going on within the district. Now, in relation to sexual harassment, I had some follow-up questions to some recent actions as well. On October 6th, Superintendent Mary Sue said that the district was in the process of identifying who will be responsible for the sexual harassment positions of coordinator, investigator, decision maker, appeals officer, and an informal resolution process facilitator. I was wondering if this person or people chosen and identified yet. If so, who are they, and how can students access them or contact them if needed? If not, when will they be appointed? Also, on November 17, Dr. Rios mentioned that she noticed the gap between concerned community members and sexual harassment policy, and stated that the task staff find where and what the gaps were. Have the task staff identified the gaps yet? If so, what are they? And what is being done to close the gaps? Lastly, I wanted to request for board meeting transcripts to be posted at a reasonable time. Currently, the public can watch meetings on YouTube, but can only access transcripts every 2 weeks. Not everyone, especially working families or single parents, have the leisure to be active and attend or watch 3 to 5 hour-long meetings. by providing the transcripts as soon as possible, they could have that opportunity to stay up to date and informed of the district's proceedings. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We do have one more speaker, and that is Mayor Renee Trevino. Go ahead, Mr. Trevino. Go right ahead. You can unmute.
Can you hear me?
We can, sir.
All right. Good evening, President Say and esteemed board members. Good evening to you, Dr. Mary Sue. My name is Renee Trevino, and I have the humble privilege to serve as mayor for our great city of Artesia. And over the last week, several of my constituents have reached out to me. My platform has been accessibility and interacting with the community. So they've reached out to me, and they specifically have reached out to me over a meeting that was done last week on Zoom for senior parents. And there's frustration in regards to how the senior class is missing out on so many events throughout this year. I go back to last year when we were first made aware of COVID-19 and what actions the school board took to immediately protect all of the students, the major adjustments that were made by the administration to facilitate online learning. Nobody saw this coming, and the school board did an admirable job in working with the administration to bring this all to where we are today. But the one thing that happened last year was those seniors were able to experience some of their activities. And when the school district shut down and said, we're going virtual, they immediately canceled graduation and said, we have to work this out. So the school district came up with a drive-through graduation because that was really on the upswing of COVID-19. That at that time was the best the school district could do. Numbers were increasing, the controversy over masks, 6 feet and such. But now we're in a very different position. And these parents were given last week the option that we're going to put out a drive-through graduation. My friends, my colleagues, I'm asking you to work with the administration to do better than that. We now have a vaccine. Our numbers are now trending downward in the right direction. We have outdoor dining again. We have personal services being offered again. You can walk into Walmart, Home Depot, Best Buy, and everybody is practicing social distancing and have many safety protocols in place. So I'm asking you, I know your positions are tough. It's a tough position to be in. But my friends, my colleagues.
1 minute, Mr. Mayor.
My friends, my colleagues, a drive-through graduation should not be option A. That should be a backup. So I'm asking you tonight on behalf of the constituents in the city of Artesia to really consider having a graduation at Gar High School with social distancing and every safety protocol we can come up with. That is my request tonight. Let's put our thinking caps on and at least give them the graduation that they yearn for and have deserved during this tumultuous year. That is my request. All of you be safe and have a very good evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was our last public speaker.
Thank you. Thank you. Now we're moving to consent calendar. May I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Second.
Is there anyone who wishes to remove any item to be considered separately?
Yes, I have one item.
Go ahead. Is it for clarification or?
Just one question, actually, Madam President.
Thank you.
Item 3.3C, just the qualifications of the person who's going to be occupying that particular position. There's several different options, but I just wanted to know what the actual one is.
The
3.3C says the person can have either a Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, semicolon, currently attend college and art and credentialing program, or 3, currently attend college and majoring in. So I just want to know which one of the 3 it would be.
So this program requires up to 10 tutors. One school has 10 tutors and another school will have about 12 tutors. And so the qualification for tutors is as you described. The tutors can either have a bachelor's degree or be currently enrolled in a teaching credentialing program or working on a degree in language arts, literacy, science, or math. And so it varies because it's multiple tutors who are supporting students in these programs.
Okay, because the agenda item says for a specific person to provide the writing and math support. Is he not doing that?
No, it's not an individual person. We're contracting with Tutor Zone, and Tutor Zone hires various tutors with those qualifications.
So so it's a Tutor Zone consultant to provide math and support. That'll be.
Yeah,
so,
he's the supervisor and he actually hires the staff.
Okay, thank you. That's the only question I had.
Mr. Nishi, you want to put out to vote separately or you want to vote at one time, consent item?
No, that's fine. It can be voted on. I just had I didn't get the answers to previous questions, and I know now that what their hourly rate is going to be, and so thank you for that. Thank you for the information. I appreciate it.
So I just wanted to remind our board right now we're going to vote the consent item as one group, as one. So we have the motion, we have the second already. So now any net in here? No net, then I'm just saying I assume the motion passed 7-0. Thank you. Next one's action item, okay, 1.1-8, community member and student appointments to board advisory committee. And may I have a motion to approve committee member and student appointment to board advisory committee?
Motion to approve, Eugenio.
Thank you.
Second, Apodaca.
Thank you. Board member, Dr. Eugenio, the floor is yours now.
Thank you, Madam President. First, I'd like to thank all the appointees, not only my own, for accepting these positions and putting forth their time and effort to serve our district. The first appointee I'd like to introduce for the Finance and Audit Committee is Sally Flowers. Sally Flowers has lived within the ABC district for 60+ years, where she attended Burbank Elementary School, Fayross Junior High School, and Gar High School. She graduated from Pepperdine University with a Bachelor of Science in Business Management. She has worked in the accounting field for over 30 years, served on the Artesia City Council for over 2 decades, and continues to be a substitute teacher for ABC Unified School District. Sally, would you like to say a couple words?
Sure, thank you, Board Member Eugenio. Good evening to you all. Thank you for the invitation to be here tonight. I just wanted to add a few words. During my term on the Artesia City Council, I served for many of those years on the Budget and Finance Committee, as well as liaison to ABC Unified School District on behalf of the City of Artesia. And also over the years, I have served at various levels of government, city, county, state, national, on budget, finance, and audit committees, including a governor's appointment to the California Board of Accountancy, where I served for 5 years for 2 governors as a non-CPA public board member. I was then elected to the National Association of State Boards of Accountancy, where I served as a director of the board for an additional 5 years. I guess my point is that I have pretty much, years and years of experience. I am not a CPA, so I don't want to hold myself out to be a CPA, but I have, my career's been in accounting, and I've served at many different levels with budget and finance, and I would count it an honor to serve for the ABC Unified School District on the Finance and Audit Committee. I am happy to be here tonight, happy to answer any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sally.
You're welcome.
My next appointee is for the Legislative Policy Committee. I'd like to introduce Deputy District Attorney Gary Polk. Deputy District Attorney Gary Polk is a 2001 Whitney High School graduate. He completed his bachelor's at Cal State Northridge in 2005, and later in 2008 finished his JD at Chapman University Law School with focus on trial advocacy emphasis, environmental land use, and real estate emphasis. Currently, Mr. Polk is employed as a Deputy District Attorney at the Riverside County District Attorney's Office, where he has demonstrated skill in criminal law, trials, legal research, and Lexis. DA Gary Polk has a strong sense for justice, fairness, civil rights, and heart for victims and the underrepresented. DA Polk, would you like to say a couple words?
Thank you, everyone, for having me. I appreciate the nomination, and I look forward with working with the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, DA Polk. Next, I would like to introduce my appointee for Diversity, Unity, and Equity Committee, Mrs. Jennifer R. Prudhomme Booker. Mrs. Jennifer Prudhomme Booker was raised in the city of Artesia, where she attended ABC schools from kindergarten through grade 12 and graduated in 2003 from Whitney High School in Cerritos. Today, she creatively and professionally serves the growing digital world of retail by lending her business knowledge and design experience to enterprise e-commerce development along with diversity and inclusion initiatives. Jennifer holds a Master of Business Administration from Columbia Southern University in Alabama and 2 Bachelor of Arts from California State Long Beach in both merchandising and design. Jennifer's experience with nonprofit and community organizations is diverse in nature. Her service history includes an array of community organizations and advocacy, including the Whitney High School Foundation for Education Excellence, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee, One Step Initiative Study Abroad Education and Underserved Youth, STEM Camp, Young Women's Empowerment Conference with U.S. Congressman Alan Lowenthal, and the inaugural President's Forum on International Human Rights at California State University, Long Beach. She is a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta, Sorority Incorporated, and founding member of Whitney High School Black Alumni Association. Jennifer, would you like to say a couple words?
Absolutely. Starting with a proud thank you to my neighbor, Dr. Eugenio, for the appointment, literally my neighbor, Dr. Eugenio, for seeing my family, for seeing us as long-lasting committee and community members of the city of Artesia. My parents have been in the city of Artesia for over 30 years, as Dr. Eugenio mentioned, and I am blessed and fortunate to have been not only a community member, but a product of ABC Unified Schools. So thank you for the school board for continuing a long-lasting legacy of excellence within the Unified School District, Dr. Sue, for also having someone who I was able to stand next to and graduate from Whitney High School from such a talented group of students that came out of the class of 2003. I was born during the year of the ox during that time, and things come full circle. here I am back in the most unique period of my life. And I am very much so enthralled and thrilled to be a part of not just the advocacy that I've been tasked with, but fortunate enough to take on a multitude of diversity, inclusion, and equity initiatives throughout my educational and professional career. I have faced many adverse circumstances and achieving many of my goals within the community's realm. And I am looking so forward to working with the ABC Unified School District on their diversity, unity, and equity initiatives. I thank all of the community for their voices that are heard tonight. And I look forward to being a vessel of change within the community that I love so much. Thank you for having me, and thank you for your appointment.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Lastly, I'd like to introduce my appointee for the Student Transfer Committee, Bernice Bautista. Bernice attended Long Beach City College, where she studied business administration. While working as a project administrator for an oil corporation, she had the opportunity to be part of the Summer Youth Committee, where Bernice was part of the interviewing and selection process. The Summer Youth Committee was a mentoring program that provided summer jobs and taught job-seeking skills to 30 to 40 underprivileged and at-risk teens in communities where violence and gangs would have been their only other option. Currently, Bernice is employed as a legal assistant at a law firm that practices family and criminal law. Bernice, would you like to say a couple words?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Eugenio. I'm a resident of Artesia. I've been a resident for 14 years. I have a daughter that attends ABC Unified. She will be graduating this year. That's something really exciting and scary at the same time. I have 3 nieces that are also in ABC schools, and I am very excited for the opportunity that I have been given. And I want to thank Board Member Eugenio and the rest of the board members for this opportunity. Thank you and have a great evening.
Thank you, Bernice. President Say, that concludes my appointees.
Thank you, Dr. Eugenio. Jennifer, I want to let you know my daughter graduated 2003. Her name is Susan Tseng.
I know Susan. I know her. Yes.
I know you too.
And Gary. I know Gary too.
Yeah, both my kids, proud parents,
Yes,
and welcome. Thank you. And thank you, Sally, as my long-term friends in there. Thank you, Dr. Eugenio. And now we are, anyone wishing to make public comments here on this agenda, please use your raise your hand feature on the Zoom at this time. Do you have anything any public comment on this, or Mr. Nishii?
I don't see anything in the chat.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion from our board here? If none, I'm going to be no, let me see what I'm going to say. Well, any objections here? Any neg here?
Madam President, shouldn't we be doing a roll call vote?
That's right. We can. Yeah, that's right. This one needs to go roll call for. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve, Madam President. Motion to
Yes.
approve.
Yes.
Actually, we just need to vote.
Go ahead, Brad.
The motion and second has already occurred.
Okay.
It has to. No, wait a minute. We had a motion. We had a second, but now we're back to the board for discussion. Any do you have any to say, board member Mr. Beach?
No, I'll just call the question if nobody has any questions.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. Okay. So Danielle, can you do roll call for me, please?
Yes, Dr. Apodaca,
Yes.
Mr. Beach,
Yes.
Dr. Eugenio,
Yes.
Mr. Nishi,
Yes.
Dr. Rios,
Yes.
Mrs. Say,
Yes.
Mrs. Yu.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, thank you. Next one is 1.2-8. May I have a motion to approve the Board of Education to vote for no more than 6 names from the list of the candidates or write-in candidates to be submitted to California School Board Association on board before March 15th. This is, we'll talk about delegate assembly election. May I have a motion for this?
I motion to approve.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Second, Apodaca.
Anyone wishing to make public comment on this agenda item, please use your raise your hand feature on the Zoom at this time. None?
I'm sorry, President Say, there's a hand raised by Daisy Legasket, but I'm not sure it's for this item.
Okay, so do you want, I didn't see from here though.
Just lower their hands. Thank you, Daisy. There are no public comments.
No public comment? Okay. Any discussion from our board here?
Well, I would like to say something, Madam President.
Go ahead, Dr. Rios.
Well, I noticed that we have 6 candidates, and as you know, our own board member Nishi is on that, and I like to think that just like we supported Ernie to represent us on this delegate assembly, other boards did so as well with their members. And so I would encourage us to, it takes a lot to, I'm sure it's not an easy job to fill, to just accept the slate and move them forward.
Thank you, Dr. Rios. Okay, so any nay here? If none, then a motion passes 7-0.
But we should vote, shouldn't we? Roll call. This is an action item.
I spoke to the district. Okay, then we'll go for it. So Daniel, can you do roll call for me, please?
Yes, Dr. Apodaca.
Yes, and good luck, Mr. Nishi.
Mr. Beach.
Yes, but just because Ernie's on there.
Dr. Eugenio.
Yes.
Mr. Nishi.
Thanks and yes.
Dr. Rios.
Yes.
Mrs. Say.
120% yes.
Mrs. Yu.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 2.4-8, Resolution 20-56, to release from employment and the non-re-elect temporary certificate employee. May I have a motion to adopt Resolution 20-56, release from employment and the non-re-elect temporary certificate employee per Education Code 44954.
Nishi, so moved.
Yeah, so moved. Second, Sue.
Thank you. Anyone wishing to make a public comment on this agenda item, please use the raise your hand feature on Zoom at this time.
There are no public comments.
Thank you. Any discussion from my colleague here? None?
Yes, actually, can I have just 2 questions?
Yes.
2 questions. One is related to the letter that goes out. I'm wondering if we can add some words that indicate that we value their service to our community as part of the letter that we send out as the first paragraph of what we send out, rather than the last thing that we send out, because they may not read past the first thing that we say. And the second question I have is regarding the, do we pay for education for these particular employees? I know we're terminating them, but do we give them incentives to improve their education in terms of money and things like that? That's the only question I have.
So I can respond to both of those. We absolutely can move the paragraph and we can rework the letter to have that last paragraph be our opening. In regard to any employees that are able to do something with their own professional growth that leads to compensation, that is all done through the agreement we have with our teachers union in regard to professional growth. We have that with all of our units where they can do professional growth for different things that will lead to increases in their compensation. And they're very specific depending on if you're a classified employee or a certificate employee. So all of our teachers, based on where they are, what group they're with, what schedule they're on, they have different opportunities that exist for that. So I don't know if I answered that for you. Like, we don't necessarily just give them money, if you will.
No. I'm not asking. I'm like for teachers, if they have a BA, then they get a little bit of a.
It depends on where they're placed on the salary schedule. So if they have a BA, their placement would be different than if they had a master's degree or if they earn different things, different units.
Right. So like, I remember when I got elected, I had talked about improving CTE, making sure that it's not a second-class citizen. So do we provide the same financial incentives if the CTE teachers have more education?
So CTE
like a BA or a MA or whatever, maybe they need there's a certificate for nursing, and that requires a certain amount of education. If they have a higher level of education, do we pay them a little bit more, or is it the same?
So it depends on what credentials you're working under. So adult school and CTE are very different than, say, K-12. Even the same with child development. Their certificates, their requirements are very different. So depending on what qualifications the position needs, that's how we compensate. So we compensate the position based on what's needed to complete that. So the CTE teachers are on their own salary schedule, just like the adult school teachers are. And that's different because of the nature of the work than, say, a K-12 teacher.
Okay, so then they do get a little bit incentive for having more education. And we're not comparing them to adult school, right? Because they teach our K-12 kids, right?
No, they have their own set of their own compensation and all of their own information that we've agreed upon with our union. In that process, CTE is different. Even when you look at like how ROPs are set up, it's different than a K-12 setting. And it's because of the nature of the work and the requirements that are or are not needed for the position.
Thank you for entertaining my questions. I know that this is
No,
not
it's okay.
exactly part of the agenda. I
That's
just had
okay.
to ask.
Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you. Maybe Dr. Zillow, you can send the step column, you know, how based on the education and experience, and some may not require for that position, and send it to all board members so they will know what to follow with that. Okay,
Absolutely.
please. Thank you. Any question or discussion on the board here right now for the for 2.4-8?
I do, Madam President. Apodaca.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam President. So quick question. This is standard. We do this every single year, correct? Or we issue the slips. And then next year they find out, or after the school year's over, they find out whether or not they've been reselected. Given the what's gone on this year, do we have any idea of who will be coming back yet and who will not?
So we do this at this time of the year because we're required to by Ed Code. And it's done in deference to teachers, letting them know that, you know, they were on a temporary contract. They gives them opportunity if they're wanting to look elsewhere. We always work to hire back any of our employees in this setting as quickly as we can, depending on our need. We are currently in the middle of meeting with all of our principals and discussing staffing for next year. And so once we go through that process and know our staffing and what we'll be doing, then we begin to work with each principal to bring back as many as we can and work through that process.
Okay, and so I know it's required by Ed Code, but I don't expect an answer tonight if we can get it in Thursday notes, but if it's required by Ed Code, is it required for us to vote on it, or is it required for us to approve it and to do it? Because otherwise, it seems like it's just window dressing for us to ratify it if it's going to be done anyway.
It is required that it go to the board this way for action as part of that Ed Code.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you.
Madam President, one more question.
Mr. Nishi, you have another question?
Just one.
Okay, go ahead.
So Chris, Dr. Apodaca brought up an interesting question related to rehiring. Can we make sure that we rehire them as soon as practicable? Because during this COVID situation, not an easy time to go looking for a job, and it's a terrible time to be told you're fired. Even if they've been there for 15 years, could we like expedite that particular decision-making process? Is there any way we can do that?
So
That's it.
yes, every year we work as quickly as we can. Our principals know and want us to work as quickly as we can. The first time I think we've ever had to go slower was last year, and it was because of the pandemic and what we were getting from the state in terms of a major cut. We slowed down our process because we did not know what our budget would look like. And as soon as we were able to make change, we moved forward. And so we will move to work as quickly as we can again with each principal to rehire any of the teachers that we're able to have return.
Okay, anything else? A lot of really the staff will make the decision because you know the people, you know your staff well. So hire, no hire, I really think it should be really back to the staff. But and board did have a good suggestion out there. So with the minor change revision, I'm going to ask Daniel to do a roll call for us now.
Dr. Apodaca,
No.
Mr. Beach,
Yes.
Dr. Eugenio,
Yes.
Mr. Nishii,
Yes.
Dr. Rios,
Yes.
Mrs. Say,
Yes.
Mrs. Yu.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-1.
Thank you, Daniel. The next item is 3.4-A, contract with Full Capacity Marketing Incorporation. May I have a motion to approve the contract with Full Capacity Marketing to create a marketing and advertising campaign for the ABC Adult School for the 2020 to 2022 school years?
So moved, Apodaca.
Eugenio, second.
Thank you. Anyone wishing to make public comment on this agenda item, please use this raise your hand feature on the Zoom at this time. Do we have any? Mr. Nishii or Scott?
We do not, President.
Thank you. Any discussion here? Now back to my colleague here. Here none. Daniel, can you please do roll call for me, please?
Yes, Dr. Apodaca,
Yes.
Mr. Beach,
Yes.
Dr. Eugenio,
Yes.
Mr. Nishii,
Yes.
Dr. Rios,
Yes.
Mrs. Say,
Yes.
Mrs. Yu.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Next item is 4.8-8, Measure BB, General Obligation, Bond Report and Annual Audit Report from NIGRO and NIGRO PC for the year ending June 2020. May I have a motion to accept the District Measure BB General Obligation Bond Report and Annual Audit Report from I think NIGRO and NIGRO PC for the year ending of June 30, 2020.
So move, Sue.
So move. Second, Nishi.
Thank you. Ms. Lewin.
Thank you, President Say. Good evening. So annually, the district is required by law, Ed Code, to retain an outside independent auditor to audit our financial records after we close the books. So you have seen this report on an annual basis from an outside independent CPA firm. So tonight, in addition to your annual audit report, because of the Measure BB that was passed by the voters, we are also presenting to you for acceptance a Measure BB general obligation bond report, and that's a separate audit outside of the general annual audit report. It is part of the annual report, but it's require a separate report and a separate audit for that, because there are specific procedures and requirements that goes into that report because of Measure BB. So tonight I have Mr. Jeff Nigro. He is a founding partner of the firm Nigro and Nigro here, present directly to the board the audit reports, both of them, the Measure BB report and the annual audit report to the board for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2020 for your acceptance. Both of these reports have been presented and accepted by the Citizens Oversight Committee, that's the Measure BB report, and the Finance and Audit Committee, that's their annual report. So these reports have been presented to and accepted by those two committees. So tonight, Jeff Nigro will be here to present the report to the board. So I will turn it over to Mr. Nigro to begin the presentation. Mr. Nigro, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Nguyen. It is my pleasure to be here tonight, virtually, to present the 2019-20 fiscal year audit reports for the district and for Measure BB. I'm going to start with the district audit. As Mr. Nguyen said, this was already presented to the Finance Committee. And so I'm going to give you a similar presentation. So if you were on that committee, you've probably heard this song and dance before. But essentially, the audit of the district is an annual process that we go through. It begins actually in January. We start planning the audit for the year. And in the case of the district, you know, we were planning to go out to the schools and look at attendance and ASBs in the spring, and we got hit by a little pandemic. And so we had to sort of alter course and ended up doing the audit remotely, which was quite a different experiences here. But Mr. Nguyen and his business team were very effective and efficient in providing documentation to us virtually. So we were able to do the audit without setting foot on in the district office, which was very challenging in some ways, but also we were able to get it done. And in the audit report, the auditor gives an opinion on the financial statements of the district. And in our opinion, we're giving what's called an unmodified or clean opinion that the financial statements were prepared in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. So kudos there. Obviously, the audit has a lot more information in it than just our opinion. And I'll touch on just some of the major highlights of the report. Like right after our opinion is the management's discussion and analysis section of the report, which talks about the district's fiscal year 1920 and how the district did compared to the previous year. So there's a lot of comparative schedules in there that show year-over-year information. And there's a lot of discussion in there about the financial statements themselves. But it's a good overview if you're not really wanting to get into too much of the detail. But if you do want to get into the detail, the actual financial statements themselves follow the MD&A section. And then you get into the notes to the financial statements. Those provide even more information, more detail, a lot of schedules in there that talk about the district's capital assets, the debt, pension plans, and a lot of information about retiree healthcare plans, and some other information, a lot of discussion about governmental accounting if you're into that sort of thing. After the notes and the financial statements, we get into some supplemental schedules, and there's some schedules in there that provide information that's required by the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, GASB, as well as schedules that are required by the State Controller's Office, who is, of course, the agency up in Sacramento that receives and approves your audit report. So there's a lot of information in there about the pension plans again, about the retiree healthcare plans again, and schedules of the district's ADA and financial trends, things like that. And then after those supplemental schedules there are 3 letters that discuss the fact that we conducted the audit in accordance with government auditing standards, as well as following the uniform guidance, which talks about how we audit sampling of the district's federal award programs, and then various state compliance programs, such as attendance accounting and the LCAP. And it gets into a lot of areas that really have nothing to do with accounting, but they're areas that the state has required us as auditors to look at on behalf of the district. And all those letters essentially say that if we find areas where the district is out of compliance with any of the federal or state rules or regulations, or if there's any areas where the district's internal controls are deficient, then we would report those to you in the audit report as findings. And then that leads you to the last section of the report, which is the findings. And pleased to report that there are no deficiencies in internal control noted. There are no federal compliance issues to report. And there was 1 state compliance finding to report. And it just had to do with the timing of the approval of the district's school safety plans for the 1920 school year. And then that takes you to the last section of the report, which is a look at previous year's audit findings. So if there were findings reported in the previous year, we report back to you the status of those, but there were no findings in the 1819 audit report, so there's nothing to report there. And then the very last page of the report is a letter where we discuss some minor issues that were discovered in our testing of the student body funds accounts, but nothing significant enough to be warranted as a finding. And so we're just reporting those to you in the audit report. So that's the district audit report in a nutshell. Shall I take questions now or just go into the next report? What's your preference?
We usually, what the board will ask after the public comment and public comment. So we have to open to the public comment first. So
Okay.
now I'm going to say any wishing to make a public comment on this agenda item, please use the raise your hand feature on the Zoom at this time. You know, if you look carefully on the right-hand bottom one, there's a raise your hand information there. Please raise your hand. Scott, do we have anyone there?
We do not, President Tsai.
So now I'm going to take it back to our board for discussion. Do we have any questions or anything common made from my colleague here? Please raise your hand too.
One question.
So who do I have here? Is Ernie?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Ernie.
Page 3 of the audit shows that reserves for the general fund decreased by $6.8 million, or 2.8% of our entire revenues. I'm thinking 6.8 is maybe 20% of our reserve. Does that mean 20% of our reserve was spent by June of 2020?
Mr. Nishi, the $6.8 million reduction in reserve was not money that was spent by the district. It was money that was moved into a different category. So it was moved from what we call, in governmental accounting, we have to classify the fund balance into 5 different categories. And for it to be counted as reserves, it has to sit in the unassigned category. And the district chose to put $6.3 million of those reserves into a committed category. So you'll see those in the committed section of the fund balance. And I would refer you to note, I believe, note 5 of the audit report, which is on page 41.
Page 41.
Yeah.
Is the public able to see any of this report? No, we can't share screen. Okay, go ahead.
So if you look in the general fund column, you'll see under the committed section, you'll see 6.3 million. And that was moved there from the reserves.
So things like deferred maintenance, child nutrition, adult education. Those things were moved to the the section.
Right, but in the general fund, it was just the 6.3 million that was moved there.
Okay.
Those other amounts you referred to were in other funds.
Okay,
So
so
when you look year over year, that amount of money was in the reserves in the previous year. So it was just a reclassification basically of those funds.
so if somebody were to look at this, they would say, we have not spent down our reserves by $6 million. They have,
Right.
we've just transferred from another pocket, still our money, but we must spend it on certain specific things.
That's a good way to put it. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone
That's it.
else? My colleague? Anyone? Mr. Niger, I have a question. When you talk about reserve, then we talk about pension.
Okay.
Okay, so how our pension, because I know, I mean, on I believe 2023, there will be some kind of 10% cut down, am I right?
I'm sorry, I don't understand your question.
Tuan, what's going to happen on 2023? Is the government going to be cut down something 10% of the?
So I believe that the question, let me try to rephrase it, is that in the year, it is projected that in the year 22-23, pension cost is going to go up by about 2%. So that would be an impact on the district's budget if we have to plan for that. So as you know that there is the issue with unfunded liabilities or pension liabilities from at the state level, and it's passing down to all school districts. And what the state has done in the past almost 10 years is that have been increasing the percentage or the amount that school district have to pay into the pension system to ensure that over the long period they would be fully funded. It is a long process because they can't just charge the school district a huge amount over just overnight or over the year. It takes them, they have a plan about 20 to 30 years to make sure that the unfunded pension liabilities will be addressed and will be fully funded. So that's the plan. So just so you know that the district contribution on behalf of our employees into the CalSTRS system, which is the biggest system, and that's the teacher pension plan, is that it has gone from 18.25% to almost 18%. So it's more than double in the past. Quite a jump in the past almost 10 years. And the state has like last year, what they did is they put about $3 billion into the system to help with school district to help offset with some of that cost, and hopefully that the state with additional funding that they have now, they will do more of that, but that would be up to the governor and the state legislature. But without that intervention, it is projected to go up from 16% to 18% in the year, not next year, but the year after.
This is 2023.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
And because I am concerned there's a pension cost. I know in Cerrito City, the pension costs that they are at the high risk. How about our district here? Our pension is in the high risk or low risk or medium risk?
I would ask the outside auditor to answer that question.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Anita.
School districts are in a, well, you've got two pension plans, obviously, like Mr. Wen said. The STRS system is for teachers, so that's really unique to the school industry. But PERS, which is for your non-teaching staff primarily, is a system that a lot of other governments have employees in. So most non-school type governments have employees in there. Cities typically will have PERS for in different pools. So they have a schools pool just for school employees, because you do have a lower risk than city employees, which tend to be fire and police and people that are, in different types of positions. So, you know, but they tend to, in terms of the investment strategies and everything that they use, I'm not really sure what differences they might have in their pools. But yeah, the district really doesn't have much say in how you, you know, how your PERS funds are deposited. And you're kind of stuck with whatever contribution rates they give you, and you're sort of tied into that. So.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Anker. Anyone else have any comment or any questions about this audit today? If none, I want to thank you very much, Ms. Niger. You're such a great, intense report to us. We sincerely appreciate it. What I heard from you, we are very compliant and we are no deficit. That's a great news. And thank you so much. Appreciate for stay tonight with us. I'm going to close our meeting for this one. So
would you like me to present the Measure BB audit?
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yes, please. I missed that part. We went to report first on the audit report first. Now we'll go back to Measure BB. Go ahead. The floor is yours, Mr. Nigro. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, thank you. And as Mr. Wen said, the district passed Measure BB, and part of the requirement of Measure BB was to form an oversight committee, a citizens oversight committee. But it's also subject now to an annual audit requirement, and the California Constitution requires an annual financial and performance audit until all of the bond proceeds have been spent. So I'll just briefly talk about what is the difference between a financial audit and a performance audit. And the financial audit is similar to the audit we do for the school district as a whole, with the exception that we're only reporting on the financial statements of the building fund, which is the fund where the bond proceeds are deposited and spent from. And the performance audit is where we look specifically for how those funds are spent. And we look at, you know, if the district complied with the applicable laws and regulations pertaining to expenditures of bond funds, such as going out to bid, following public contract code requirements, change order requirements, and things like that. So in the financial audit of the Measure BB, we're giving, again, an unmodified, clean opinion on the financial statements. So the financial statements that you see for Measure BB for the 1920 school year are prepared in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. You know, we're going back several months now, but at June 30, the district had $63.2 million. They were just getting started on a lot of the projects, but you know, there's a lot of money there to spend. So, and similar to the district's audits, there's notes that follow the financial statements that discuss the bonds in more detail, the repayment requirements on the bonds, and things like that. The performance audit is what most people are thinking about when they think of an audit of the bond. And because it really looks at things like, you know, how did the district spend its money? And the primary thing that we look at is, were the expenditures from the Measure BB funds in accordance with the approved project listing that was given to the voters when they approved Measure BB? And once again, we're very happy to report that there were no exceptions noted in our audit. We take a sample of expenditures. We obviously can't look at every dollar that's spent because you wouldn't want to pay our fee to do that. But we test a sample of expenditures. In this case, we looked at about $1.2 million, a little over half of all of the expenditures incurred in the fund. And we looked to make sure that they were in accordance with the, like I said, the approved project listing. We looked at a sampling of the contracts. We looked at the change order process, and we found the district to be in compliance with all those areas. So on the last page of the report, we're giving the opinion that the district complied with all of the requirements of the Measure BB bonds. So it's a clean audit report. Again, district was just getting started spending the money. So we'll be looking at this again this year, and we'll be reporting back to you again a year from now. But I'd be happy to answer any questions you have on that audit.
So back to the board. Any question, any comments in here for regarding the Measure BB?
I do, Apodaca.
Go ahead, Dr. Apodaca.
Thank you, Madam President. Just really quick for the clarification of the public. So in going over that sample, the $1.2 million, obviously you don't go through everything, but a sample is more than enough, correct, to make sure that we have a valid representation of the audit, the costs that were incurred, and that they went towards their intended purpose?
Right. We select a sample size large enough to give us a assurance that the sample is representative of the whole population of expenditures. We can't give absolute assurance unless we looked at every single document, but we give what's called reasonable assurance that the money was spent according to what was allowed.
Okay, and then really quick, with regards to the process as a whole, you function completely and totally independently during this process, correct? You don't receive any direction from us or from anybody affiliated with the district. You do this because you have a fiduciary duty to do it, correct?
That's absolutely correct. We're independent, and we select the samples on our own. We don't seek any advice from the district about which projects to look at or which contracts to select for a sample.
And so this is the process itself is pretty much as transparent as you can get, and you act completely on your own. So I want to make sure that the public are aware of that, and that they know that we pretty much, we hire you to do just that, to be that neutral third party, to look at it from a different lens. So thank you for being here. And quick question for staff. This is all available somewhere, I take it, on our website, right? I know it's not part of the agenda that's posted, but is there somewhere online where the public can view this, since it is taxpayer funds that were being audited?
Yes, sir. Most of the reports have been posted on the district website.
Perfect. That's all I have. Thank you very much for being here, and thank you, Madam President.
Any other comments? Go ahead, Clerk Nishi.
Real quick, this might be more for Tuan. And so right now, are the bond interest rates really low?
Yes, sir. All interest rate is really low right now, including the bond interest rate.
Including the bond interest rate.
Correct.
Is there a projection whether it would be advantageous to push up the date from the next bond issuance in terms of, and also in terms of being able to handle the monies? Just because I'm thinking, if we're able to issue rates when they're low before potential inflation hits from a lot of stimulus, is that something that staff would be considering eventually, or not?
So I will definitely check with our financial advisor, but just so you know, for the benefit of the board, the Measure BB funds were scheduled to issue in 4 separate series, right? With the first one, we did it in July of 2019 of 64.5 million. And it's going to be every 3-year increment. We expected and on schedule to issue the second series, which is Series B, about the same amount, 64.5 million, in July of 2022. So if the question here is, should we consider issuing it earlier if we to take advantage of the lower interest rate environment? So there's a couple of things, right? Then we are required to spend down the money within the 3 years of issue. So we have to make sure we have project and spend down the money, that we don't, just issue and sit on the money, right? So number one. Number two, we are making an assumption on future interest rate, that we are assuming that issuing now will be more beneficial than July 2022, which none of us have the crystal ball. And the third issue is the most important thing, is the impact on the taxpayers, because they are servicing the bond. So we have to make sure that we have to keep within the $55 per $100,000 of assessment. So we have to run, the current assessed value of ABC to ensure that if we issue the second series sooner than the 3-year, how would that impact the taxpayer? So all those 3 factors we'll take into consideration, and if we can, we will. So I will check with financial advisor, but that's good forward thinking.
But I guess the last one is the key for the homeowners in the area, if it impacts our bottom dollar.
Correct, but as you know,
That would not be
housing
good.
value have been right, but home values have been increasing more than
That's right.
the 3% that we factored in. So it's not out of the question, but all those three factors have to be feasible before we can do it. Not, yes.
Thank you, Tuan. That's it.
Mhm.
Anything
Madam
else?
President.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Dr. Eugenio.
During the sample, were there any areas of concern that required extra investigation?
No. No, everything was pretty straightforward. As I said, you know, the district only spent a small fraction of the money that was issued. So, you know, we expect to see that dollar amount tested be much higher in the 2021 fiscal year, but we didn't see anything of concern, no.
Thank you, sir.
Anything else? No. My questions are, you know, I really thank you, Dr. Apodaca, that you got the point, because it is a hard-earned money from our community. I was wondering, do we also like put on the newspaper for what we have been done and what money we spent, rather than always put it on our website? Have you attempt to put on the local newspaper? You work with the Scott?
So I will answer that. And then, so we will, the COC, the Citizens Oversight Committee, part of their charges after this report, they will present it to you, what they call their annual report, which is you get another report from them, right?
Mhm.
Using this information tonight, you know, relying on the external auditor report, but also they will, you want to hear from them directly on what, you know, their charge has been, what their findings have been, and that, you know, then we can, once we get that report, maybe we can publish that report in the local paper on the district website. But next after this is that you will get another report from the Citizens Oversight Committee, and that
Good.
will be an annual thing that you can expect.
Good, thank you. Thank you, because I really think the public needs to know how we spend our money, and this is their hard-earned money. Thank you so much. And any other comments or any questions? If none, I'm going to have Daniel to do roll call. Daniel, go ahead, do the roll call, please.
Dr. Apodaca,
Yes.
Mr. Beach,
Yes.
Dr. Eugenio,
Yes.
Mr. Nishi,
Yes.
Dr. Rios,
Yes.
Mrs. Say,
Yes.
Mrs. Yu,
Yes.
the motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, Mr. Negro, for tonight's report. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Madam
one.
President?
Yes.
Madam President, so we heard a lot of public comment. We're not allowed to comment on the public comment. I understand that it's not an agenda item, but there was a recent report issued by Supervisor Janice Hahn regarding going back to school. And I was wondering if we could have a walk-on item, requires us, I think, a 3/4 majority for any facts that have occurred after the agenda has been printed and before our actual meeting. Just to discuss for up to 15 minutes, no longer than that, some of the concerns that some of the parents have discussed in terms of actually just discussing this item that Janice Hahn had issued regarding schools. Now, I know we got a report from the superintendent, and I thank her for being right on her toes and getting all that information to us. But I think I have a few more questions that maybe we could try to get that done. So if I could, if people would like to hear for just 15 minutes.
What, it's kind of like out of the order. You know, if you want to bring this up, you have to put on the public, you have to put out at least, it's a 48 hours, 72 hours for.
So I understand, but it'd be called an urgency item. And it would require 4/5 majority of the vote to put it on the agenda. And if the board doesn't want to talk about what the parents talked about, that's fine. I have no problems with that. I just
don't
thought I'd
think
give
the
it a
board
shot.
I don't think the board want to talk and not talk. It just, it'll be fair for post it out, so we can, so people can make a comment, they can come in to talk about it too. And I believe it's going to put on the first month of the March for this matter. This agenda going to put it on there. Am I right, Dr. Su?
That is correct, President Say. It will be discussed during our March 2nd board meeting.
I think parents need to hear it sooner from us. So I'm just going to make the motion. If I don't get a second, that's fine.
Okay.
And then we just make a vote. If I do get a second,
we are in the
it requires
4.9.
most of us.
We are at the 4. We just finished the 4.8-8. Let's finish the 4.9-A. Finish the last agenda, then I can put out the for emergency vote for that matter.
Okay, I just think that opening schools is more important than bathrooms, but okay.
Because I am a concern, I think my colleagues here, they're all concerned about reopening school. Definitely is one of the big issues. Clerk Nishi, I want you to understand that. But however, we need to put out the public at least 48 to 72 hours so people can join. Otherwise, we ignore their comments in there.
No, I understand, but it would be it's a non-action item. It would be an information item so that the public is informed as to what our actions are. I can actually ask some questions and so I think we can do that. Maybe I don't get the answers right now, but as a 4/5 majority with the information that we just received, we are permitted per the Brown Act to do this. It's not against the law. Just as if, remember when we had to close the schools, that wasn't 72 hours notice, that was 4 hours notice, but that was within the Brown Act because it was facts that occurred after the agenda had been printed. And
Point
if
of
it
order,
doesn't
Madam
receive
President.
yes.
I believe that too, because Dr. Abdaga, you're correct. I think it's point of order.
Well, my point of order is I think that I see what Mr. Nishi is trying to say, and I think that we're still putting it together at the district level. It might be premature to ask questions now, but I think we should definitely have the questions brought up so that way we can answer them at the next board meeting. So I agree with you, Mr. Nishi. Parents want to know what's going on, but I feel like we just found out today.
Right.
And I know we're all getting emails and text messages. So, but Madam Chair, my point of order was it's up to you to recognize the speaker or to entertain the motion or to move on with the agenda. So I just wanted to make sure that either way, if you're going to entertain the vote, that you say when we're going to, and if you're not, then let's please move on. Thank you.
As far as I know, Clerk Nishi, because we will have this put in the agenda for the next meeting, which is March 2nd. And today is February the 18th, 16th. And also we sent a letter to the parents already. You probably know that today, Dr. Su already sent a letter about reopening for K-2, and then from 3 to 6, it followed the state rules. I do think we need to give a staff a chance to prepare and let a parent, we also invite a parent to come here to talk. Because some parents want, some parents don't. And we do have a lot of board members very concerned about reopening, such as the sports. What's we're gonna do? This is not just only reopening school, there's a lot of things, which one we can report open, which one we cannot open.
So maybe, Madam President, then I can amend that to, because I think we can't wait till the end of March to have another meeting to talk about this. We'll already be back in school. I think the parents need to know before we're in school what this is about. So maybe we could have a special session regarding this next week, because this is important. This is what the parents really care about. I'm sorry, and I'll yield the floor.
Okay, I appreciate it. Let me finish with 4.9-A, then we will put Dr. Seuss on this, and then we'll discuss on that. How's that? Would that be okay? Thank you. Thank you for being patient. So 4.9-A, be award ABC 1560 restrooms at various schools. May I have a motion to approve be award ABC 1560 for restrooms at various schools to Keystone Builders in cooperation as lowest responsive and responsible bidder. May I have a motion to move this one?
Move to
Dapadaka.
Second.
Thank you. Anyone wish to make a public comment on this agenda item, please use the raise your hand feature on Zoom at this time. Do we have any? Mr. Nishi and Scott?
I have Daisy Lagaska for the, Daisy, is this for the, Sylvester, are these for the bathrooms? If right now we're taking public comment for the bathrooms.
Okay, so that directly to our tonight's agenda. Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. They both lowered their hands. No public comment.
No problem. Okay, good. Now I'm put on the board. Any comment, any question regarding 4.9-A? If none, then you can do roll call for me, please.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Vice President, Ms. Yu. Go ahead.
Yes, so for this bathroom, so the bathrooms are being built additionally to the bathrooms that they already have in all these 6 elementary schools. Is that
Yes,
correct?
ma'am. That is correct.
Okay, so response to the AB 1732, Equal Restroom Access Act, like the new restrooms will be for all gender, single staff, and designed with supervision and ADA accessibility.
That is correct. It's both to meet the racial, the plumbing code, and the latest requirements in terms of the single gender stall bathroom.
I know that that bill was passed in 2017. When that bill was passed, I mean, I'm just asking, did the state expect each district to come up with the money to build these bathrooms?
No, this is not in response to that. The answer is no. So you only have to upgrade your facility if you were going to renovate or modernize your schools. If you don't do anything to your schools, then you don't have to retroactively go back and do that. So in this instance, the reason is because of the plumbing code and the racial requirement that we were looking at, and this is to be in compliance with that. So so that's from this action item tonight for the additional restrooms at these 6 schools.
Because we're renovating, because we have the bond money, and so then we are required by law to build this additional bathroom for the equal restroom accessibility for all gender. Is that what it is?
Not for this particular item. This is again for the plumbing code requirement. There's a racial requirement between the number of students and number of restrooms, especially in the kindergarten area. So this is what this is about. If, for example, right now we're renovating Artesia and Whitney. So because of that, we will have to address that issue at those schools. The next group of high schools, we will address that. So when it's the elementary school turn to get modernized and renovate, then we will address that. So this is outside of that.
Okay, because I was just reading through and I was a little bit confused. I wasn't sure we're using part of the bond Measure BB fund to build these bathrooms.
So the Measure BB allows for additional restrooms, as you know, restroom renovations and that, but we try to preserve that funds. And that's why you see 3 funding sources in here. The second CARES Act allowed the district to use the federal funds for this also. So that's why it's in there. So we try to leverage and use as much federal funds as possible when we can, when we know exact amount we have to preserve Measure BB. And that's why you see multiple funding sources on here. And that's the strategy of the district to preserve Measure BB funds to ensure that the schools still have the most money for their projects.
Yes, I know. I understand that we have to be in compliance with the state law, but you know, we're spending $1 million in 6 bathrooms, and of course, so that's why I was just concerned. Maybe we could use, if we don't have to build a new bathroom, I hope that we can use the money for other funding, such as, you know, academic support for the students who are in need or other sources. So these elementary schools need additional bathrooms.
Yes, ma'am, to comply with the plumbing code.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hey, Madam President, I have a quick question.
Go ahead, Mr. Beach.
Twans, this says it'll be for all gender single staff. Is this bathroom for the staff or the kids?
It's for the kids. This is for the kindergarten restroom. It's one single stall.
Okay, and a teacher will take the kid to it and allow him to use it, or?
Yes, just like in any kindergarten class, you see a little bathroom there. So if the little one needs to go to the bathroom, the teacher would follow the usual protocol that they do in assisting students to the bathroom.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else? Thank you. That was a great question to verify who's using that, PJ. Any other? If none, I will ask Daniel, can you do a roll call?
Dr. Apodaca,
Yes.
Mr. Beach,
Yes.
Dr. Eugenio,
Yes.
Mr. Onishi,
Yes.
Dr. Rios,
Yes.
Mrs. Say,
Yes.
Mrs. Yu, Mrs. Yu.
Yes.
Okay, motion
Yeah.
passes 7-0.
Okay. Now I do want to let my clerk Nishi to know about your concern, your comment. Is not the bathroom's important or that bathroom's not important. The reopening is more important than that. We need to follow the status because I will put it back in here as I promised you. My concern is really, I mean, if the staff is working for us right now. So are they ready to present? You know, when you're in the public like this, they must be prepared and ready to present. If they're not ready to present, then we'll put in the hard situation to have them to state. If the Dr. Su willing to present on the next March, the 2nd or 3rd, the meeting, and I assume that will be really help us, you know, have a PowerPoint presentation and put on the future agendas. I don't want to hold them back. I think it is important to really discuss about reopening things. It is very important to every single board member here. Important more than the bathroom. Say,
Madam,
so I'm going to let you talk now. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean that bathrooms are not important. I just
Good. I'm
felt
glad you say that.
it's I have to go to the bathroom. Yeah, it's important. But
you're the one that asked for before, remember? Suggest the
know.
bathroom.
But I think we can spare, and I would limit it to 16 minutes, only 2 minutes per board member. So that way, at least we can ask a few questions, not a lot. And so that will later on, we may not get our answer tonight, but at least the public knows that we're asking these questions that we would like, and the board and the staff knows legally what questions we're going to have in the future. So when we receive a board report in the future, it will specifically address what the public wants and desires. And I think we can spare 16 minutes for this, 2 minutes per board member, and I'll time it if you wish. And if it fails, and if we want to get for the next meeting, that's fine. I don't cast any aspersions against any other board members for wanting to end the meeting. It's not a problem.
Before we
so
go
I'll make
to
the
vote,
motion.
before we go to make a motion, I'd like to hear from Dr. Su too. Is she ready to present? Dr. Su.
We are currently not ready to present any information tonight, especially when we just found out about it last night. That's the current situation that we just learned about was developed last night. And I know that a number of you texted me and called me about it, but we are currently not able to present. I have not even had a cabinet meeting yet to discuss it with our own cabinet members.
But I know that we have regular plans to be opening, and that it's going to be based upon a lot of factors. So I'm not even asking for an answer right now, but at least we can ask the questions, and just 2 minutes per board member. I mean, I don't, anyway.
Second your motion, Ernie.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had the motion and move to, now I'm going to have Daniel call every single one. And when you ask the question, Miss, I want to remind you again, okay? And just like we do public comment, you're expecting the staff to answer to you right now? Because like they
No.
just said, they're not prepared yet.
I understand.
Okay, so
Yeah.
go to vote. Okay, so
Yes.
Daniel, please do roll call, please.
Dr. Apodaca?
Sorry, so the motion is to cap it at 16 minutes, correct?
60
Yes.
minutes, ask some
Ernie,
questions.
16 minutes, the gavel comes down and we're done after 16 minutes, correct?
Timer.
Ernie?
Yes.
My vote is yes.
Okay,
Mr. Beach?
Yes.
Dr. Eugenio?
Yes.
Mr. Nishi?
Yes.
Dr. Rios?
Yes.
Mrs. Say?
okay, yes.
Mrs. Yu?
Miss Yu? Yes, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay.
Since it is a concern to, actually, it is concern to all of us, because we do receive a lot of phone call from parents. Maybe Dr. Su, we can ask a few questions that help you to prepare our next meeting. So, this is a concern from the board, okay? Also from the parents. We are working with all, and we also have, one of the things we also need to be cautious about it. I want to remind my colleague here regarding the union contract. We also negotiate right now, okay? So I'm going to start with Daniel. Would you please start with the Dr. Apodaca first? The floor is yours now.
Thank you, Madam President.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll make it brief. Most of what we've been receiving has to do with sports, so I'm not asking a question I'd like to include in our report, though, for March 2nd, if not sooner, the sports programs and how we'll be rolling that out, conditioning for the different sports, as well as the safety precautions we're taking for our staff that has to supervise facilities and coaches and anybody else who might be helping out. Also, if we can get between now and then, if not sooner, some kind of an update on the status of vaccines. I know it's very difficult right now. I applaud our president, Madam President Say, for pushing to shake every bush and every tree to find vaccines for our teachers. And that's all I really have, is to make sure that between now and then we have a response to obviously the sports, but also more than anything what the day-to-day will look like for our students and for our educators. Thank you.
Okay, so next, I think we go to Board Member Ms. Beach, please.
Thank you, Madam President. I only have several comments myself. The first one is, I think the safe return to schools is the most important thing on everybody's mind in the entire district. And I think it should be on every agenda. I think it should be the first thing, front and center under presentations. There should be a safe return to schools line, and Dr. Sue or her cabinet or somebody can address the parents right from the beginning so they can get all the information they need. It's not an agenda item. There's no discussion. It's just putting out information. And I think that would be very helpful for our district to do something like that. All of us received about 16 emails from parents from Gar High School and Cerritos High School about the return to baseball and softball. I played baseball. It's outside. All the positions are 10 to 12 feet apart. Their safety protocols can be put in place. I don't see any reason we can't return to outside sports in this district. So I hope we're really looking at ways to make that happen, and we can maybe move towards that soon. The last thing is, I want our teachers to get vaccinated as soon as possible. I can't believe they just moved marijuana workers to 1B and teachers are still in tier 2. I understand people need their medicine, but our kids need to be back in school. And I'm upset about that. I'll contain my emotions, but about probably half of the parents want their kids back in school, okay? So if we keep them out, then half of the parents are gonna be upset. Parents will still be able to remain virtual. So this is kids going back to school is not going to impact them at all. They're going to keep their kids home. They're going to be safe. They're going to get the same quality of education that they're getting now. So I just want to do whatever it takes to get our teachers vaccinated. I hope the unions are lobbying Gavin Newsom. I hope they're lobbying Sacramento, doing whatever it takes to get the vaccinations so they can come back. Our kids can come back. It's time, and our kids need to be back in school. Thank you.
Clerk Nishi, I need to control the time.
I know,
Each board
I got
member
it.
has 2 minutes.
Next is
Thank
Dr.
you.
Eugenio.
Okay, Dr. Eugenio.
Thank you, Madam President. Yeah, some of my concerns also sports, especially return to non-contact sports. I don't see a reason why some of these athletes won't be able to return, especially their social distance, and it's a non-contact sport. We just had the Super Bowl. We just had the football playoffs without incident, and I can't see why we can't have the non-contact sports begin their practice ASAP. So that's my concern. Thank you.
Next one, Ernie.
Thank you. I'll be quick. I'll be quick. Band. I'm hoping that we can do horns in those various sections following the CDC procedures. So I'd like to see how we're going to have band back. Art, sports. Obviously, we need to have non-contact sports, and some. I've seen baseball teams playing, and it's not fair that our kids don't get to play. Parent input. We need to have more parent. We need to have a schedule for that. I don't know when that's going to happen, and I know the parents want to be asked. What questions are they going to be asked? When it's going to be happening? That'd be great. Vaccines already covered. The issue regarding synchronous learning. So coming back is one thing, but we need to negotiate with the unions, obviously, whether we can do this synchronous learning and maximize it. You know, if we can have 4 days per the governor, we wanted at least 50%, and we should try to do that. And finally, regarding the, those are the things I could think. Oh, yes, and part of this approval process. I remember before we had a request for a waiver and for K2, and now we're going to go 3-6. I know the rules are going to be changing, but I would like to see just generally what that schedule is going to be in terms of, so I can tell the parents. I'm going to try to do a parental meeting next week, but I'd like to know. Thank you.
I'll call the next one. Dr. Rios, please.
Thank you, Madam President. Yeah, a few things. I will echo what already has been mentioned. Vaccines need to be at the top of the list of what we're working on, and especially because accessibility becomes more real day by day. So that hopefully continues to, again, be a priority. Second would be that if there are measures that we can provide to our teachers or our staff to make them feel safer and to not guarantee, but help ensure the safety of students, such as the plexiglasses that I know were mentioned, I think that we shouldn't even be considering it. If that is something that is going to ease, again, some of the anxiety about returning, I think it's a worthy investment. There's no question that we want students back. We know that they're best served in the classroom and in person, but I do also want to give attention to the equity issue and address some of the concerns about, that only our K2 teachers are being asked to come back. And so again, looking at how we can support that and make them feel, again, more at ease, but also so they want to come back. And then the last question, I guess, would be, when we closed the schools, we held a special meeting and it required an action of the board. And so I'm just wondering if that is also going to be a requirement for reopening. That's it.
Okay, the next one, I'm going to go to VP, Vice President, Ms. Yu. I'll do the last. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam President. And thank you, Ernie, for making the motion so that we can share. And I just want to start out by, this is pandemic and we don't want to point fingers or anything, but parents are concerned on both sides. Some parents want to send the kids back to school, but some parents don't. But I want to thank Dr. Valencia, because, when the federal grant rolled out, she jumped on it, and she met, and her and the team met the February 1st opening school safely. And I know that our entire school management, cabinet, the teachers, the union have always worked on preparing for opening school, strengthening the hybrid. So, it doesn't seem like it, but I know that you guys have been working so hard. So I just want to say thank you very much. But now, things are changing, and now with the vaccine, and people are really, I understand they're very anxious. I would like the staff to work on giving us some kind of timeline. If we get a green light, if we have a green light, to how soon can we get the sports and the extracurricular activities going? And the plexiglass and the PPP and the thermometer, you know, all those, do we have those in place? I know for the K through 2 second grade, I mean, since if they're opening first, of course they probably have it, but even for the sports or the extracurricular activities, because it's all outdoor, if the parents sign some kind of waiver so that our school is legally protected, then how soon can we roll out? Because I know the coaches have been on standby, and I would like our district to really encourage the coaches and the teachers who heads the extracurricular activities such as MUN or band. You know, everybody needs a little bit of encouragement. So, you know, all that. I mean, I feel bad for asking so many questions because I know the staff, it's just so much burden, but you know, I don't know what's worse, mental health or the illness from the COVID. So it's difficult, but I just want the staff to understand, the board, we are behind you. We really appreciate all the hard work, but these are very important questions and timeline that we need to address during this time, you know. So, and especially for those schools, President Ray mentioned that there are schools that actually really needs to open, and there are schools where majority of the parents don't want. And I think that we need to figure out and get the data, which group, which community really needs the schools to be open, and we can really focus on those schools to make sure that we have all the PPP, right? So however, thank you very much for a strong virtual academy. However, that's it.
Thank you, my colleague. Dr. Su, I want to thanks again for listening. I think what board as concerned and question not just only from parents and themselves and against, I know you are too. You are concerned about the reopening issue. I know you're working on policy, you're working on the liability. You know, personally, I have been spoke to you and you have given me a very intensive report about on this issue. But
I do want to say a couple of things in response to a number of the comments that were made tonight by our board members. We have resumed our conditioning and skill practices, especially for baseball, at Gar High School and at Cerritos High School. Messages were already sent home to the families regarding that we will resume the conditioning and sports practice for both of those schools. Now I know that Artesia High School and Whitney High School are doing, you know, their science wing. And so every school is going to look a little differently, but we have resumed the conditioning and sports practice, especially in baseball, because I have been inundated with families who have contacted me directly, as well as many of you have been contacted about the baseball issue. But we also have cross-country track meets, as well as swimming and golfing. All of those things have resumed for this week.
Thank you. I did went to couple school, and I know kindergarten is ready because we checked the room. You have hand gels everywhere, you know, the water, drinking water, those are being updated. But what about other school? So for the next board meeting, would you please, Samita, give us a report, a detail. Are they ready or not ready? Because I know some high schools ready, the table's ready, they define the color, but some of the high school doesn't have those hand gel, those PPE things. I did not see it's ready. So if you can give us report on this environment is ready or not ready, that'd be really great. And I do too believe, oh, thank you. I do too believe that that we halfway done, and I encourage our staff to push a little hard and work with the union, trying to get everything so we can reopen our school and the kids can come back to that. And I do miss them. I think all of us miss them. But anyway, I want to stop right here. I want to thank you, the staff, and I want to thank
Beach
you.
had a question.
I'm sorry,
Madam
Board member-
President, my hand's up. Could I ask one last question, please?
I give the floor to you, not a problem. Go ahead.
Dr.
Spend
Sue,
your time. You only get 1 minute.
Dr. Sue, I checked with several people before the meeting at various baseball programs, and they hadn't received an email. What time did the email go out, and can you CC us on it, please? I think you're muted.
You need to unmute yourself, Dr. Sue.
Principal Dr. Ricardo Lois, as well as Patrick Walker, sent out the email messages, I think, last weekend.
Okay, because a lot of those parents emailed all week and they haven't been practicing still. So I'm wondering where the disconnect.
No, it's resuming this week.
Okay, well, the parents they don't know about this, so maybe the principals either didn't send it out or I'm not sure what's going on.
I can forward the email to the board.
Thank you.
I know a week before when I talked to Principal Walker, he said they are ready. I went to the gym room too. But anyway, any other question? Thank you all. Any?
I was gonna say, Madam President, if I can be recognized, please.
Okay, go ahead. 1 minute for you, Dr. Abadaka.
Oh, it'll be 10 seconds. I was gonna say, Board Member Beach, any of those parents who, I mean, especially right now, emails change, addresses change. I would say anything that you have, send it to the superintendent so that way she can reach out, and they're really good about reaching out to those parents if they haven't reached that communication already. Thank you.
Okay.
10 seconds, one question. High school, can we have a schedule for high school? That's it. Thank you, Madam President.
What? I'm sorry.
Have a schedule for high school. When is high school going to come back in terms of a predictable point? I know we start with elementary, but eventually we have to go to high school.
There's a phase 1 and phase 2 and phase 3. I think Dr.
Understood. So that's what I mean. The students and the parents want to hear that. That's what it is. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Sue, when we go in the neighborhood, we get parents calling us and crying, and I can feel how they feel, especially my neighbor. A couple of them talked to me about it. I was like, okay, we'll get it before as much as you can. And thank you, Board Member Nishi has to state for the question, and I like that. Okay, so now we're going down to board member report, please. And I'm going to start with Dr. Abadaka.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll be brief. I wanted to first off give a big shout out to our mental health professionals, at each school. Most folks, if you're not familiar, every single school has at least one dedicated mental health professional, and the typical high schools have two. And from my understanding, they have been just swamped throughout this entire thing. And so if I would encourage all of our board members to get to know a few of our mental health professionals at the schools and hear some of the stories that they deal with. And once you do meet them, it's very obvious that they're not doing this, for the money, because let's face it, there's not a lot of money in it, but they do it because they care, and they do take these cases home with them. And in many cases, speaking from personal knowledge, they're very sad and upsetting stories about what's happened ever since we've had to go to the stay-at-home order, and it is drastically affecting our families in ABC everywhere. But I can speak from firsthand knowledge here in ABC. That said, we do have resources on our district website, ABCUSD.us, and if you scroll down, past the fold there, it'll say, mental health resources or wellness resources website. Use that, parents, to find out who your mental health professional is at your school. And if for whatever reason you can't get through to them, you can always reach out to your board members. You can reach out to the district, and we'll make sure that if you need to speak to a mental health professional, if your student does, that they will. Also, I want to make it clear from my experience, but I'm pretty sure my colleagues here on the board agree with me. My experience, not one board member, not one district administrator, not one coach, teacher, principal has said, man, let's keep this stay-at-home order going. Let's keep schools closed. Let's keep kids at home. Let's keep them glued to a screen. let's ignore parents and let's ignore all of our stakeholders because, well, we can. And I can tell you it's the exact opposite. And hearing the stories from students that are shared publicly, from parents that share in confidence as well, excuse me, as well, it's tough as a board member, because I can tell you, we're powerless. In so many instances, we really are, we're powerless. So I'm not trying to dissuade people from sharing what's going on. We appreciate you coming out and sharing and venting with what's going on. And I can give you my word, at least, that we will open as soon as possible, because there isn't one board member, and they can correct me if I'm wrong, there isn't one board member sitting on this board right now that doesn't want to reopen schools. But we have to do it safely, and we have to do it, within the confines of our own authority. And so I love that you guys are coming out and speaking at the board, but we also answer to higher powers. So reach out to our supervisors, reach out to our legislative representatives, the state Senate, the state assembly, or write the governor and let them know, hey, this is taking a toll on our kids. And I agree that the solution, the cure can't be worse than the disease. And it's very tragic with seeing what's going on with some of our families. So I just want to say that I want people to know that we're not a board that just sits here and just says, ha, 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 ha. We really do care. Every single board member cares. It's just, there's not much we can do. We could vote today to open all the schools tomorrow, and I guarantee you it would not happen. We wouldn't be able to enforce it or make something like that happen right away. So thank you for your patience, and your cries are not falling on deaf ears. And we really, really do care. You don't get to see that from watching us for a couple of hours every few weeks, but I can tell you over the years that I've gotten to know those sitting on the board now, and from what I've seen just in the votes for our newest board members, they actually care. We actually care. So I'll leave you with that. Thank you, Madam President, for running a great meeting tonight. And I also wanted to thank Mr. Nishi for being the voice of reason tonight, so we can actually go on the record to have those questions that we've been getting from parents. And that is my first time I've ever seen a walk-on item. So I need to get you like a plaque or something, because I've never seen us actually have a walk-on item during an open session meeting. So that's all I have, Madam President. Thank you. Have a good night.
I do want to remind my colleague here, we only have about 28 to 30 minutes left. So please give you a report in prompt. Now the next one will be Dr. It'll be Mr. Beach. Board Member Beach, please.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll try to make it fast. I wanted to start by commending Kylie Joe. I thought she gave an excellent presentation tonight. We definitely hear you. We hear all the students. I hear my daughters. I hear their friends. We know you want to get back to school, and we are working towards that. As far as Mayor Trevino's comments about graduation, I would like to see us try to plan something that's safe and where the students could actually be spaced out and walk through some type of stage to get their diploma, if that's possible. And of course, the drive-through graduation as a backup plan. I think the students deserve that. I'd like to commend the staff on the CTE handbook. I thought it was very well done, easy to read, colorful, thought it was great. And a few of the CTE teachers actually reached out to me to have a Zoom meeting. So I would look forward to staff sending us the pay schedules. They obviously feel underpaid and underappreciated. So I would like the board at some point maybe to consider looking at that if there's anything that we can do. I'd like to thank Elizabeth Duarte for donating $298 to Bragg for library books, the Nixon PTA for giving $500 to our library at Nixon, and the Liu family for their $500 donation to the Nixon Academy as well. I think we're going to roll out our second or third parental survey soon. And a thought came across my mind. Have we ever done a student survey? I think it would be extremely beneficial for the students to answer some questions. We might learn a lot about their mental health and how they're doing, what they want, and it might give us some insight that would help us make decisions. So that's something for the cabinet to consider. Also, this request is from my parents. They are longtime ABC residents, and they watched a meeting recently, and all they could see was the big blue, Zoom meeting and date for the whole time. And then in the tiny upper right-hand corner is the person speaking. And it was hard for them to see the person speaking and follow them. I don't know if there's a way, like when we're watching it on our phones, when somebody's speaking, they become big and in the center, and then that blue piece goes up to the corner, it swaps. I just think it'd be better for people watching at home to be able to see the person that's speaking to them if that's doable. To the parents of all the sporting events, Dr. Sue has said the principals know about this. You're allowed to condition and practice. So I hope that is starting to roll out tomorrow. And I want to wish everybody a happy Lunar New Year. So thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Mr. Beach. Yes, there's a way you can, when the person start talking, the camera focus that person only. There is a way. So the next one will be Dr. Eugenio.
Thank you, Madam President. Over the course of the past week, I received and reviewed emails and had conversations with parents of our district. Many voiced their concerns of their student athlete that their absence from playing their sport over the past year has affected their child mentally and physically. One parent of a baseball athlete even shared with me that they are driving their child all the way to Arizona or Nevada just so he could be able to play and practice his craft of baseball. I can sympathize with our student athletes because I too was not able to practice my craft of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu during the beginning of the pandemic, and it affected me mentally and physically. I feel for our athletes who are not able to compete these past seasons. I feel for the parents of these athletes who were not able to watch their child play their last season at high school. I feel for the parents of our kindergarten students who missed out on their child's first Halloween parade, Thanksgiving program, and Christmas program. Those were all fond memories I had with my own children. I sympathize with the seniors of the class of 2020 who are not able to experience the traditional graduation ceremonies that they worked 4 long years to achieve. I do not want to see any more time and memories lost by our students and the parents of our students. I'd like to begin with having our non-contact sports return to practice with proper safety protocols in place. To many of these athletes, this is not only a game they are playing, it is also a springboard to college. For our graduating seniors, I ask that Dr. Mary Sue devise a plan for in-person, socially distanced graduations at Gar High School, which should be safe as possible. I'm excited the infection rate of the virus is falling, but we still have some work to be done to help return our students to a version of normalcy that they once knew. That's all I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next one will be Clerk, Mr. Nishii, please.
Thank you, Madam President. First, thank that I'm sitting on a board that enables us to talk about the important issues that the parents care about for at least 60 minutes. So I thank you for that. Want to thank Carol Castro, Brian Glonchek, Valencia Mayfield for the Day of Remembrance that they took so much time to do and make and ensure that this becomes a legacy. It's an issue of equity, ethnicity, it's diversity, and civil rights. And I think it's important that the teachers are part of this. And that was a great idea by Dr. Mayfield and her team to do it that way. It's a lot of time and a lot of effort. So I thank them. And also the 96-year-old married couple that participated in the program, Mr. Hachimonji, who goes to my church. Thank you for participating. Also, Mr. Ani, I guess Sylvester, who presents these things on Fridays. It's actually very interesting to learn about, or relearn about the jail complex and why equity is an important issue to be pursuing academically as well. It's not just for one group, it's for all of us to advance all of us. Lastly, I just saw this report about seniors in high schools, and actually not just seniors. They did a report on NBC News just before I got on. 56% of those students are unhappy and they are depressed. Now I know that our suicide rates have not gone up. That's great. It's awesome. It's a testament to our mental health. But we have to have a plan for them to be safe too. We can't be going to the grocery stores and they say that's safe, but going to school in a monitored environment that's limited, I think we can probably do that. I have a vested interest. I know that there are seniors that are just, after their class, they just lay in bed. There's they're just, they don't tell anybody about it. They don't tell their father or mother about it. They're just laying there. And I'm hoping that we can bring them back with vaccines for those teachers. That's the number one thing, right? I don't care how we get the however many vaccines that we need, but we need to give our teachers by hook or by crook. So if there's anything that I can do to help make that effort become, if you need me to stand in front of Janice Hahn's office to go get those vaccines, I'll do what it takes. I don't, it's not that important to me, my reputation, but I do care that those teachers get the vaccine so they can have a choice to come back safely. And and I'm going to try to have some community forums next week. And we also have a diversity art contest, which more details will come out for all the schools, and so that we can express what diversity really means to our kids. And this is being worked on by the ABC Foundation, which is a great foundation to be helping out and being the champion of this particular effort. And that's it. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you.
Be safe.
The next one will be, I believe, Dr. Rios, please.
Hi, well, I was able to mention, thank you, Madam President, most of my concerns earlier. I guess the only one along the lines of equity is to keep in mind as we prepare for this reopening that, you know, although we are one district, we are a very diverse district, and the needs do vary, and sometimes they vary greatly. And so I hope we take that into consideration when it comes to staff and when it comes to students. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice President, Ms. Yu.
Thank you, Madam President. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Yeah. I had a meeting with our Assembly member, Cristina Garcia, on February 5th, because I know that she advocates for education, and I wanted her to advocate for reopening the school, and also wanted to kind of brag about our virtual learning, how we have 84% satisfaction rate. However, we discussed about closing the gap and how the gap is going to be bigger than ever before because of this pandemic. And that's really no one's fault. It's the pandemic. And how do we get 84% satisfaction? Is because our teachers worked hard. Although we have holes, because even though the teachers work hard, it's just not the same as learning in person. And we are going to have students in the lower socioeconomic, group hit very hard. And, this is the time that we need the legislators to really help our district. And I know I've noticed that starting with Dr. Sue, all the educators, our cabinet members are law-abiding citizens. They go by the law and align to all the state ordinances. So when the state tells us to shut down, we have no choice but to shut down. Now that they lifted that ordinance yesterday because of the COVID cases, now we are ready to roll up our sleeves and open up. And I just want to remind all of us, everyone, that we need to work together. And I want to thank the teacher union, and I want to thank those teachers in advance who will be volunteering to come forward to come to the schools. And by no means we will not make any teachers to come back if they don't feel comfortable, and if they are not ready health-wise. And to those parents, if you don't feel comfortable sending your kids to school, you can keep them at home, because our virtual learning is doing well, and we don't want to disrupt that until end of the semester. But there's a need. Some of the children need to come back. Some of the communities need in-person learning, and we need to address the mental health. So let us all work together. We're gonna get busy for the next few months, right? So we've been at it for a whole year now. So thank you, everyone. Have a good evening and Happy New Year, and Gong Xu Bat Zai.
Thank you, VP Ms. Yu. For back in the March, we all worry about student and family, staff, and some of them from the low socioeconomic status, hungry and food issue, or English learner with no help, and or will higher achievement students and all others. We're all concerned about that. But I do want to spend 1 minute with Dr. Su, and I want to thank you and the cabinet staff. Plus, I also want to thank you, the union and the teacher and the staff. You know, we all try the best we can. We may not be the best result, but we did it and we tried our best those the past years. But also, remember the little girl seeing, the Chinese girl seeing a dance ballet today? And this is what she said, everything, we'll be okay. We're going to be okay. Everything will be fine. And we just have to put out more energy there. What happened is I also want to make sure, I know most people here that's open, but I do want the staff to be aware, safety always comes first. Please consider it. I am a support parent. I am a support them to come back, either education or sports, because there is a need. I mean, we understand the suicide rates went up. I went to the Principal Walker, one of the, a boy, which is well known in sports, and he becomes so depressed. The parent went to the school, talked to him, can you open it? The kids doesn't want to do anything. His grade was dropping it. So lots of things really pushing us, say, this is a good time, because we see the infection rates start dropping it, and we see there's a room for us to open our school. But again, I want to remind everyone here, the student safety, the teacher safety is very important. When you're looking into it, I'm asking the staff also look into, because I know some places they are doing that right now, not just vaccinating our staff, our teacher, our other staff who works in our district. We also support some of the vaccine to the family members, because you know what, they're exposed to the public, and their family member also may deserve to have a shot. So we need to work on with Janice Huang. And I have been trying, I also talked to Christine Garcia, sent a letter to Janice Huang. I spoke to board member Apodaca, maybe we can hire people rather than go to the supervisor and Dr. Apodaca told me that he can get a hold of the government to get the vaccination if we can. We'll try on that matter. So that way we're served to all, not just only the teacher. Because I know it's coming out, hopefully by February 16 or February 20, all the educators can start have immunization not immunization, vaccine for the COVID. So we have to work hard. I want to thank you again, Dr. Su, and I want to thank you, board member Nishi. This is the first time I'm doing that for the standard agenda things. And we try the best we can, but we're not challenging you. We just want to let you know, this is the concern that we have. This is the things we heard from the parent, and we want to do the best we can. We want the more detail on the next meeting, and I believe you will present with the staff. I want to thank you, Mayfield, too, for your hard work. And I also want just one more thing. I want to remind the staff today, please get the environment ready too, because I know some school has not ready yet. So I was starting visit some school. I will let you know I'm going there. I want to see some of the safety PPEs ready too, because we are talking about rolling 1 K to 2 and then 3 to 6, and then next one probably March to April, maybe junior high and high school will kick in. So I'm asking staff sincerely get that ready for rolling in anytime. Okay. And again, thank you, my colleague, and I appreciate it all. And I want to say happy belated Valentine and definitely Chinese New Year. I wish the best luck to you and your family and your loved one and the people who you know. And God bless them all. And we will have a safe. It will be better, just like the students, the song that she danced. It will be everything okay. It will be all right. And may God bless you all. And I'll be end of the board member report. So now let's go announcements. Any other thing that you guys like to make comment on anything? If you're none, I'll go on the continue one because we have about how many minutes? 60 minutes left. Okay, thanks again, Dr. Su and your cabinet. Announcement, next regular board meeting will be on March 2nd at 7 o'clock, virtual meeting. Community meeting will be, first one was Strategic Planning Board Advisory Committee on Tuesday, February the 23rd, 2021, 6 p.m. Legislative Policy Board Advisory Committee will be Wednesday, February 24th at 6:30. And Finance Audit Board Advisory Committee will be on Thursday, February 25th at 6 p.m. Special events, the Magnet School Parent Informational Meeting Tuesday, February 25th at 6:30 p.m. I also want to remind everyone on March 1st through the end of the March, there will be school of choice there. They will be posted information in our website. And now we'll go down to the second public comment section. Do we have any, Clerk Nishi?
Mr. Smith?
We do.
Okay, go ahead.
We do. The first one is Sylvester Ani. Go ahead and unmute. Go ahead, sir. You have 5 minutes.
I just wanted to talk about the reopening and coming back into schools and, you know, sports. And that's something that we're all trying to work for and do things in a safe way. Where we're talking about, you know, people having the option, which is great. In terms of sports, I guess I had a question. Doesn't need to be answered now, but just something to think about. What made these sports leagues so successful in how they were able to come and play and everything was that they had constant rapid testing, constant, you know, contact tracing. I'm wondering, is that something that would be provided for our students? Temperature checks, you know, whenever, you know, before they go into school to make sure nobody has a temperature to go in, just so that, you know, because obviously we all want everybody, all the kids to come back to school, but just so we're taking the proper safety protocols. Is that something that that's in the budget to be able to have that contact tracing and the you know, rapid tests for kids, just so we can catch anything before anything spreads? That's one thing. And then you know, I appreciate everybody listening to the concerns that were made on the call. We understand and we know that mental health was something that students were dealing with pre-pandemic, have now been exacerbated, you know, during the pandemic, and will have to be dealing with the effects of that post-pandemic. So, you know, shout out to Dr. Apodaca, you know, bringing up the mental health workers, and salute to all that they do. Whatever we can do to give them more resources, whether it's, you know, it's more staff to help with the workload that we're all going to have as a community. And it's not just going to be put onto the mental health workers. I feel like we all can step up and, you know, give these students and teachers and just, you know, people within our community somebody to lean on. And then finally, I wanted to also, again, just invite everybody to come back. Thank you, Dr. Nishi, for you bringing it up. On Friday nights, we're doing Black History Month movies that are educational, that talk about equity, to talk about diversity, talk about accurate Black history. Every Friday night, 7:30 p.m., we'll do a screening and then a discussion afterwards about these issues. And again, I think it's also, again, a space I want to, again, lift up our brothers and sisters within the Asian American, Pacific Islander communities. That's also something that we're going to have to deal with coming back into schools, as well as, you know, policy to improve safety protocols surrounding sexual harassment within the schools. So these are all things that we weren't dealing with because we've been at home, that now being kind of thrown into you know, the belly of the beast in school. Now we're going to have to start addressing some of these things. And this school board, ABCUSD, has always been proactive with things for the most part. So I want to continue to be proactive with things and work with y'all to make that happen. I strongly believe in calling people in instead of calling people out. And I feel like this is an opportunity to call people in and work together to be proactive and preventative in the issues that we may potentially face coming back into school, and create a safe environment for the students. So thank you all for listening to me tonight. Have a blessed night, and hope, you know, we'll talk soon.
Okay, any other? Mr. Smith?
There is one more. It's Maggie Koenig. Maggie, please go ahead and mute. You have 5 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your time and consideration. First and foremost, as a current staff member at ABCUSD, a little bit more clarification or information about how we can be protected in school and how we can be involved in the process of that transition would be really helpful. My supervisor is an RSP specialist. I forget her exact title, but she works day in, day out past hours just to do her regular work, and she does up and beyond to ensure my professional growth, as well as to enrich the students' experience, regardless if we were in person or virtual. And this teacher is also a parent, and she's also has her own passions. So she has a lot on her plate already. Just I would like her to be able to voice her concerns, have it able that we can all have a part on the decision making process, because she does already so much, and I hear so much gratitude, to people like her and myself. But it would be even more than it would be justice, not just gratitude. It would be justice to provide people that are being impacted a seat at the decision making table, and to voice our opinions or our fears, and just to have a bit of our worries addressed or to be heard out. I did hear Board Member Beach thank Kylie Joe for her time speaking out, and the same thing should be for everyone, where if we can say what we have to make our transition as smooth as possible, to have that recognition. And the same thing goes with other issues of equity, issues about not just rote hearing people's voices, or rote saying like, oh, this is a person that's impacted our school district, but actually going up and beyond to give people their opportunity to speak and make changes in the school district. So with that being said, I would like one of our board members to make it number one on the list, to make sure that the special education advisory meeting is put on the agenda next time, where there is a meeting this Thursday from 6:30 to 7:30, where parents and community members can speak about how they're being impacted currently. And there's actually 2 more meetings coming up that are already planned but have not been advertised. So I forget who is the board member that's responsible for the advisory committee, but it'd be nice to see that up there on the agenda. Mr. Brad Beach, or Board Member Beach, sorry, was able to speak today about how accessibility is important. Like, he was talking about how some people ask to have our faces bigger, and that's an accessibility ask right there. That's a moment of him being an advocate for someone's accessibility. So I just want to see more of that. That would be great. Kudos to people who do that. Dr. Rio, speaking about, I did hear you say, like, keeping in mind our disparities within our community. I heard a teacher was talking at the union meeting today about how Hawaiian Gardens has a population density that's different from the rest of the communities, as well as culture that needs to be taken into account. On the note of culture and equity, I just wanted to note that this is still Black History Month, and to be honest, if I were to grade how your presentation went, I would say a lot of you didn't even take the effort to plagiarize a pre-written script. A simple Google search on someone we haven't heard before. It was a perfect learning opportunity, just kind of squandered. And then right after that, to see a well done, community organized, engaging, beautiful video about Lunar New Year, it just
Sorry,
adds an equity right
we're out of
there.
time.
And I just hope that there's a little bit more effort.
All right, we have no more public comments at this time. President Say.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting in the memory of ABC employee Philip Ornalis and Dr. Abadaka?
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Go ahead, Dr. Abadaka.
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Ornelas began his career in 2004 as a sub-custodian. He became a permanent night custodian in 2006 at Ferguson and Melbourne elementary schools. In 2007, Mr. Ornelas became the permanent day custodian at Ferguson Elementary School. He promoted to Gardner in 2008. He promoted to general maintenance worker at Cerritos High School in 2015. In 2016, Mr. Ornelas promoted to Head Start general maintenance at the District Office West. He leaves behind his son, Phil Jr., and Raquel, 2 grandchildren, his mother, Rosie, who's also a retired ABCUSD school bus driver, and the woman he loved, Laura Ruiz, and her son, Evan, who graduated from Cerritos High School in 2019.
Okay, the meeting adjourned. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you, Chris.
Good night.
Good night.